Here is a collection of facts. They are not important. You do not need to remember them. Think of them as small, unremarkable objects placed on a table, one after another after another. There is no arc, no build, no climax. Just a quiet inventory of the world's specific, unnecessary details. The goal isn't to stay awake, it's to let your mind unhook. We'll begin with a box of pencils that spent time in orbit. A box of pencils was taken to the International Space Station in the 1960s. They were ordinary number 2 pencils, the same kind used in schools. They were used by astronauts to write notes in space because the ink in pens wouldn't flow without gravity. Before the common eraser we know today, people used breadcrumbs to remove pencil marks. They would take the soft, inner part of a loaf and rub it across the page. The bread would pick up the graphite without damaging the paper. This method was used for centuries before rubber erasers became available. The first cardboard box wasn't made for shipping packages at all. It was created as a flat sheet of paperboard for a board game. The material was printed to look like wood panels to make the game board more visually interesting. The idea of using it for storage and transport came much later. The hole in the center of a needle is called the eye. This simple feature has remained unchanged for thousands of years. Needles were invented long before the first metal alloys were developed for making coins. The basic design proved so effective that no major improvement was needed. The safety pin as we know it was patented in the middle of the 19th century. The inventor created a design with a coiled spring mechanism at one end. Before this, pins were simple straight pieces of metal with no covering for the sharp point. They would easily open and cause injury, which is why the new design was called a safety pin. In the year 1800, a British cobbler patented the first method for making shoelace tips. These small metal or plastic ends are called aglets. The original patent was not for making them look nice, but for making them harder and more durable. The goal was to stop laces from fraying when pulled through eyelets. The first paperclip was a simple looped design made from a single piece of wire. This early version did not catch on with the public. The familiar gem style that we use today was introduced later and has remained unchanged in its exact shape for over a century. Its design is so efficient that no one has successfully improved upon it. The adhesive used on post-it notes was originally considered a failure by its creator. He was trying to make a very strong glue for use in aircraft construction. The result was a weak adhesive that could be peeled off easily. It was only later that someone realized it could be used to mark pages in a book. Early pencil sharpeners were not handheld devices but complex machines. They had hand cranks and had to be bolted to a desk to be used. The blades inside had to be adjusted with screws, and the whole device was quite heavy. Before these machines existed, people simply used knives to sharpen their pencils. Corrugated cardboard was first used to protect glass bottles and other fragile items during transport. The material was chosen for its cushioning properties. Its use in making moving boxes for general shipping was developed later and became popular only in the early 20th century. The two uses were invented independently of each other. A specific type of paper was once made from animal hides, a process completely separate from modern wood pulp paper making. This material is known as parchment. The term parchment itself comes from the name of a city where it was first produced in large quantities. It does not refer to the material itself, but to the place of its manufacture. The first stapler was made for a king in 1866. It was a large, heavy device that was not practical for everyday office use. The mechanism was complex and required significant force to operate. It wasn't until decades later that smaller, more manageable staplers became available for the general public. The zipper as we know it was not invented for clothing, but for shoes. The original patent in 1893 was for a fastening device for boots. The mechanism was called a clasp locker and was cumbersome to use. It took nearly 30 years before the design was refined and applied to trousers and jackets. The ballpoint pen was invented by a Hungarian journalist who was tired of fountain pens smudging. He created a pen that used quick-drying ink and a small ball bearing at the tip. The first commercial ballpoints were sold in Argentina in the 1940s. They were marketed as pens that could write on greasy surfaces and at any angle. The modern toothbrush handle is made of plastic, but early versions used animal bones. The bristles were made from the stiff hairs of a specific animal. The first mass-produced toothbrush was manufactured in England in 1780. The design has changed little since then, only the materials have been updated. Coat hangers were not invented by a single person, but evolved over time. The first versions were simple hooks on a wall. The wire hanger we use today was inspired by a design in the early 1900s. A worker in a factory bent a piece of wire to hold his coat, and the idea spread. The first matchsticks were produced in the 1820s and were called friction matches. They were made of wood tipped with a chemical mixture that ignited when struck against a rough surface. The chemical used was white phosphorus, which was later replaced with a safer compound. This invention made fire portable and easy to start, a significant change for everyday life. The umbrella was not invented for rain, but for protection from the sun. Ancient cultures used large parasols to shield themselves from heat. The modern waterproof umbrella came much later in Europe. The word umbrella itself comes from a Latin word meaning shade or shadow, not from anything related to rain. The first key to turn a lock was not metal, but wood. Ancient Egyptian locks used wooden pins that had to be lifted by a wooden key. These keys were large and bulky, sometimes as long as a person's arm. The principle of matching pins to a specific shape is the same concept used in modern locks. Buttons were originally used as ornaments, not as fasteners. They were sewn onto clothing for decoration, often made of expensive materials. The practice of using buttons to close garments came centuries later, likely in parts of Europe. The buttonhole had to be invented before buttons could function as closures. The first eyeglasses were made in Italy in the late 13th century. They consisted of two glass lenses set into a frame that could be held by hand. The design was simple and allowed people to read and see distant objects more clearly. It took centuries for glasses to become wearable on the face, with arms hooked over the ears. The safety razor was invented in 1880 by an American. It was designed to fold into its own handle for protection. Before this, razors were open blades that required careful handling and sharpening. The safety razor made shaving safer and more accessible for ordinary men. The first chewing gum was made from chicle, a natural sap from the sapodilla tree. This substance was harvested in Central America and used locally for centuries. The modern chewing gum industry started in the mid-19th century when chicle was brought to the United States. It was initially marketed as a treatment for indigestion. Mirrors have existed for thousands of years, but were originally made of polished metal. These early mirrors were made of bronze, copper, or silver. The glass mirror with a metal backing was invented in the 16th century. This process made mirrors clearer and more reflective than the polished metal ones. The first sewing needles were made of bone or horn. These early needles were thick and blunt compared to modern steel ones. They were used to stitch animal hides together for clothing and shelter. The invention of the metal needle allowed for finer sewing and more delicate fabrics. The drinking straw, as we know it, was invented in the 1880s. The first straws were made of paper and were used in soda fountains in New York. The inventor noticed that people were having trouble drinking through the natural straws made of ryegrass. He created a paper tube that was clean and did not dissolve in liquid. The first locks were used in ancient Egypt and were made of wood. These locks used a simple pin mechanism that was operated with a wooden key. The design was effective and was used for securing doors and chests. The principles of this ancient lock are still used in some modern lock designs. The first scissors were invented in ancient Egypt around 1500 BC. They were made from a single piece of metal that was bent to form two blades. These early scissors were spring-loaded and would spring back open after being squeezed. The cross-blade scissors we use today were developed later by the Romans. The first railway tickets were not made of paper but of cardboard. They were small pieces of stiff card that could be punched to indicate use. This system was introduced in the early 19th century when railways first became popular. The design remained standard for many decades. The first brassiere was patented in 1914 by a socialite named Mary Phelps Jacob. She created it out of handkerchiefs and ribbon because her corset was uncomfortable. The design was simple and did not compress the body like a corset did. She sold her patent to a company that mass-produced it for women. The first postage stamp was introduced in 1840. It was called the penny black and featured a profile of a specific person. It was the first adhesive stamp used for sending letters. The stamp allowed letters to be paid for by the sender, not the receiver, and was a simple, practical innovation. Here is a collection of facts about the human body. They are not the kind that make you feel extraordinary. They are small, specific observations about the machinery you inhabit, described plainly and without fanfare. We will move through them one after another, a quiet inventory of the body's quiet quirks. The human body regenerates its entire layer of skin roughly every 27 to 30 days. This means the outer surface of your body is constantly being replaced. The dust that settles on surfaces in your home is mostly composed of these old, dead skin cells. It is a continuous process of shedding and renewal. Human hair is made of the same structural protein as the horn of a rhinoceros. This protein is called keratin and is a tough, fibrous material. It is also found in fingernails, claws, and hooves across the animal kingdom. The difference between hair and horn is mostly in the way the keratin is arranged and bound together. The enamel on your teeth is the hardest substance produced by the human body. It is even harder than bone. However, it has one significant limitation. It cannot repair itself. Once enamel is worn away or damaged, the body has no mechanism to regenerate it. This is why tooth decay is a permanent problem that requires artificial repair. The small intestine is much longer than the large intestine, measuring about 20 feet in an adult. It is called small because of its diameter, which is narrower than that of the large intestine. The large intestine is shorter, about 5 feet long, but is much wider. Their names refer to width, not length, which is a common point of confusion. A human tongue has receptors for 5 basic tastes, but they are not arranged in distinct regional zones. The idea of a specific taste map, with sweet on the tip and bitter on the back, is an older, inaccurate concept. The receptors for all tastes are distributed widely across the entire surface of the tongue. Some areas may be slightly more sensitive to certain tastes, but there are no exclusive zones. The heart produces its familiar lub-dub sound not from the muscle contracting. The sound is generated by the closing of the heart's valves. The first sound, lub, is made when the valves between the upper and lower chambers close. The second sound, dub, is made when the valves leading to the lungs and the rest of the body close. The lens of the human eye changes shape to focus on objects at different distances. It does this by contracting a specific circular muscle that surrounds it. This process is called accommodation. When you look at something close, the lens becomes rounder. When you look far away, it flattens out. This continuous adjustment happens automatically without your conscious awareness. Human ears continue to grow slightly in circumference throughout life. This is not a result of new growth, but of gravity and the breakdown of tissue over time. The cartilage in the ear slowly loses its structure and stretches. The lobe also lengthens slightly, a very slow process of physical change measured over decades. The appendix was historically described as a useless leftover of evolution. More recent research suggests it has a function as a reserve for beneficial bacteria. It acts as a safe house for gut microbes that can repopulate the digestive system after an illness. This is not a critical function, but it is a function nonetheless. The average person sheds between 50 and 100 strands of hair per day. This is a normal part of the hair growth cycle. At any given time, about 90% of your hair is growing, while the rest is resting or falling out. This daily shedding is usually balanced by new growth, so the overall amount remains stable. The human skeleton is completely replaced roughly every 10 years. This happens through a process of bone remodeling, where old bone tissue is broken down and new tissue is formed. It is a constant cycle of destruction and reconstruction. The entire skeleton is renewed over a decade, meaning your bones are not the same ones you had 10 years ago. Your stomach lining is replaced every few days. This is necessary because the stomach produces strong acid for digestion. The acid is so powerful that it would digest the stomach itself if not for the protective mucus layer and rapid cell replacement. The stomach cells are constantly regenerating to prevent self-digestion. The small intestine has millions of tiny, finger-like projections called villi. These projections increase the surface area for absorbing nutrients. Without them, the intestine would not be able to absorb enough food from the digestive process. They give the inside of the intestine a velvety texture that is essential for nutrient uptake. The human nose can detect an estimated 1 trillion different odors. This is a much larger number than the old estimate of 10,000. The exact number is still debated, but it is clear that the sense of smell is far more sensitive than previously believed. The receptors in the nose can distinguish an enormous variety of chemical compounds. The average adult lung contains about 300 million tiny air sacs called alveoli. If these sacs were spread out flat, they would cover an area roughly the size of a tennis court. This large surface area is necessary for efficient gas exchange. Oxygen passes from the air in the alveoli into the blood, and carbon dioxide moves in the opposite direction. Your heart beats about 100,000 times per day. This adds up to roughly 2.5 billion beats over an average lifetime. Each beat pumps blood through a network of blood vessels that is over 60,000 miles long. The heart performs this function continuously, without rest, from before birth until death. The human body contains about 60,000 miles of blood vessels, including arteries, veins, and capillaries. This network is so extensive that it could wrap around the earth more than twice. The smallest blood vessels, the capillaries, are only 1 cell thick. Their thin walls allow oxygen and nutrients to pass directly into the surrounding tissues. The average adult body contains about 5 to 6 liters of blood. This amount makes up roughly 7 to 8% of total body weight. Blood is composed of red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. The plasma is mostly water, about 90%, and acts as a transport medium for cells and dissolved substances. The chemical process of breaking down food for energy is called metabolism. This process generates heat as a byproduct, which is why the human body maintains a stable internal temperature. The average resting body temperature is about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a product of the constant chemical reactions occurring in cells. The human body loses water through several different pathways. You lose water through sweat, urine, and even through the simple act of breathing. When you exhale, you release moisture from your lungs into the air. This is why your breath is visible on a cold day, as the warm, moist air condenses into tiny droplets. The human liver is the largest internal organ in the body. It performs over 500 different functions. One of its primary tasks is to filter toxins from the blood. It also stores energy in the form of glycogen and produces bile for the digestion of fats. It is a complex chemical factory that works without conscious input. The human bladder can hold a moderate amount of urine before the urge to empty it becomes strong. The capacity varies between individuals, but the average is about half a liter. The bladder is a muscular sac that expands as it fills. The sensation of needing to urinate is caused by the stretching of the bladder wall. The human body has over 600 muscles, from the large muscles of the legs to the tiny muscles of the inner ear. The smallest muscles are found in the middle ear and help dampen sound vibrations. The largest muscle in the body is the gluteus maximus, which forms the shape of the buttocks. The heart is not located exactly in the center of the chest. It is slightly tilted and sits more toward the left side of the body. This is why you feel your heartbeat more strongly on the left side of your chest. The left lung is slightly smaller to accommodate the position of the heart. The human eye contains about 120 million rod cells for detecting light and 6 million cone cells for detecting color. Rods are more sensitive to light and are responsible for night vision. Cones are less sensitive but allow you to see in color. The concentration of cones is highest in the fovea, a small pit in the center of the retina. The average person blinks about 15 to 20 times per minute. This action serves several purposes, including spreading tears across the surface of the eye. Blinking also cleans the eye of small particles and provides a brief moment of rest. The exact rate of blinking can vary, depending on activity, focus, and environmental conditions. The human fingernail grows at an average rate of about 3 millimeters per month. The nails on the dominant hand tend to grow slightly faster. Nails are made of the same keratin as hair. They provide protection for the sensitive fingertips and can be used as tools for scratching or picking. The average adult human has about 206 bones in the skeleton. This number is not fixed throughout life, as some bones fuse together during development. For example, the skull starts as several separate bones that fuse in early childhood. The exact number of bones can vary slightly from person to person. The joints between bones are lubricated by a slippery fluid called synovial fluid. This fluid reduces friction and allows for smooth movement. It is similar in consistency to raw egg white. The fluid also provides nutrients to the cartilage that covers the ends of the bones. The human body contains more bacterial cells than human cells. The ratio is roughly 1:1, with some estimates suggesting bacteria are more numerous. These bacteria reside primarily in the digestive tract and on the skin. They play a crucial role in digestion, immune function, and overall health. The skin is the largest organ of the human body, accounting for about 16% of total body weight. It serves as a barrier to protect internal organs from injury, infection, and dehydration. It also helps regulate body temperature through sweating and the dilation of blood vessels near the surface. Here is a collection of facts about words and where they come from. These are not grand stories of heroic origins. They are the quiet, practical histories of the labels we use every day, passed down through time without ceremony. We will move through them one by one, a calm inventory of linguistic leftovers. The word robot comes from a Czech word meaning forced labor or drudgery. It was introduced in a 1920 play about artificial workers. The term was chosen to describe the mechanical servants that rebelled against their creators. The word originally referred to serfs, who were obligated to work for their landlords, not machines. The term salary is linked to a Roman payment made in salt, though the connection is indirect. Roman soldiers were sometimes given an allowance for salt, which was a valuable commodity. The Latin word for salt, sal, became associated with this payment. The link is historical, but the direct translation of salary to salt money is a simplification. The word travel traces back to an old French word for work. Specifically, it referred to the work of transporting goods, or the labor involved in a journey. The connection is that travel was historically difficult and required significant effort. Over time, the meaning shifted from the work itself to the act of moving from place to place. The term muscle is derived from the Latin word for little mouse. The Romans thought the contractions of certain muscles, like the bicep, resembled a mouse moving under the skin. The visual similarity was enough to inspire the name. The word has persisted, linking our anatomy to a small, scurrying animal. The term cinema comes from the Greek word for motion. It is a shortened form of cinematograph, which means motion writer. The first moving pictures were seen as a way to write or record motion. The word eventually became synonymous with the art form and the places where films are shown. The word dollar is an anglicized version of the German word Thaler. This term was a shortened version of a place name, Joachimsthal, meaning Joachim's Valley. Silver was mined there in the 16th century and used to mint coins. The name of the coin became associated with the place where it was made, and the word evolved over time. The origin of trivia is from the Latin for crossroads, or where three roads meet. In ancient times, a place where three roads converged was considered common or ordinary. The term eventually came to mean things that were commonplace and unremarkable. From this, it evolved to refer to insignificant or minor pieces of information. Window comes from an Old Norse term meaning wind-eye. It was a literal description of an opening in a wall that allowed wind to pass through. The word was adopted into English and retained its practical meaning. The opening was also used for light, but the name focused on the passage of air. The term planet comes from the Greek word for wanderer. The ancient Greeks noticed that certain points of light in the night sky moved differently from the fixed stars. They called these wandering stars planets. This was a simple observation of movement, not a mythological attribution. The word disaster comes from the Italian for bad star. It was based on the ancient belief that the position of stars influenced human affairs. However, we are simply noting the etymology of the word, not the validity of astrology. The term has come to mean a sudden misfortune, divorced from its astronomical origin. The word companion comes from the Latin for one who eats bread with you. It is a combination of com, meaning with, and panis, meaning bread. A companion was originally someone you shared a meal with. The term has broadened to mean any associate or friend, but its roots are in the simple act of eating together. The term sincere is often said to come from the Latin for without wax. The theory is that dishonest sculptors would hide flaws in their work with wax. A sculpture without wax would be honest and genuine. The origin is debated, but the word is now used to describe someone who is truthful and not deceptive. The word candidate comes from the Latin word for white. In ancient times, people seeking office would wear white togas to appear pure and honest. The white garment was a symbol of their good intentions. The word evolved to mean anyone who is running for a position, regardless of what they are wearing. The term clue comes from an old word for a ball of thread. In the ancient story of a labyrinth, a ball of thread was used to find the way out. The thread provided a path through a confusing space. The word has come to mean any piece of information that helps solve a mystery or solve a problem. The word bank comes from the Italian word for bench. The first bankers in medieval Italy conducted their business on benches in the marketplace. The word was adopted into English to refer to the financial institutions themselves. The physical object of the bench was the origin of the term for a financial establishment. The term salary has a more direct connection to money than to salt. The Latin word salarium was the payment given to soldiers to buy salt. However, the exact relationship between salt and the payment is debated among scholars. Regardless of the debate, the word for a fixed payment comes from this original context. The word tantalize comes from a French source, not directly from the figure in the old story. The French verb tantaliser was used to describe teasing or tormenting. The French term was borrowed into English. The connection to the story is indirect and linguistic, not a reference to the story itself. The word mortal comes from the Latin for death. It is used to describe living beings that are subject to death. The term is a simple classification of things that are not immortal. It does not refer to any specific being or event, only the general state of being alive and finite. The word school comes from the Greek for leisure. In ancient Greece, leisure time was used for discussion and learning. The term was adopted to refer to the place where that learning took place. The connection is that education was seen as an activity for free citizens, not for those engaged in manual labor. The word tragedy comes from the Greek for goat song. The origin is obscure, but it may have referred to a specific kind of performance. The term was used to describe a serious drama with an unhappy ending. The word has evolved to refer to any event that causes great suffering or distress. The word tobacco comes from an indigenous American language. It was the name for the plant and the pipe used to smoke it. European explorers adopted the term in the 16th century. The word has spread to most languages around the world, referring to the plant and its products. The word tycoon comes from the Japanese word for great lord. It was originally a title for the shogun, the military leader of Japan. The term was adopted into English to refer to a powerful business leader. The word has lost its specific political meaning and now refers to a wealthy industrialist. The word quarantine comes from the Italian word for 40. The practice was to isolate ships for 40 days before allowing passengers to enter the city. The number 40 was chosen for its historical and religious significance. The word has come to mean any period of isolation, regardless of the length. The word tuxedo comes from a place name in New York. It was the name of a Native American tribe and the area where they lived. The garment was first worn at a club in that area. The name of the place was applied to the style of jacket, and the word has remained in use. The word monster comes from the Latin for omen or warning. Ancient people believed that unusual or deformed creatures were signs from the gods. The word has since changed to refer to any large or frightening creature. The original meaning was tied to interpretation, not the creature itself. The word avocado comes from the Aztec word for testicle. The fruit was named for its shape and the way it hangs in pairs on the tree. The Spanish explorers adapted the term into aguacate. The word evolved over time, and the connection to the shape is now largely forgotten. The word mosquito comes from the Spanish for little fly. The term is a diminutive of the word for fly. The insect was named for its small size and flying ability. The word has been adapted into many languages with similar pronunciations. The word calculator comes from the Latin word for pebble. The ancient Romans used pebbles to count and perform arithmetic. The word was used for the person who performed calculations. The term has shifted to refer to the mechanical and electronic devices we use today. The word talent comes from an ancient unit of weight and currency. It was a specific measure of silver or gold used in the ancient world. The term was later used to describe a person's natural ability or skill. The connection is that a talent was a valuable thing, much like a skill or ability. The word sugar comes from an ancient Sanskrit word for gravel or sand. The term referred to the granules of crystallized sugar. The word traveled through Persian, Arabic, and then into European languages. The modern word is a descendant of this long journey across continents. The word barber comes from the Latin word for beard. The profession was originally focused on shaving and trimming facial hair. The term is a direct reference to the primary service they provided. The profession has expanded to include hair cutting and styling, but the name remains from its original function. The word sandwich comes from the name of an English nobleman. The Earl of Sandwich was said to have requested meat served between slices of bread. The name of the place became associated with the food. The term has become a generic word for any such preparation, detached from its aristocratic origin. The word gymnasium comes from the Greek for place for training. It was a place where athletes practiced and competed. The term was adopted into Latin and then into English. The word has come to mean any place where physical exercise is performed. The word adventure comes from the Latin for to arrive. It originally meant something that was about to happen. The term shifted to mean a daring or risky undertaking. The connection is that an adventure is something you arrive at, often unexpectedly. Here is a collection of specific superlatives and records. These are not achievements to marvel at. They are simply measurements and facts, precise and unremarkable in their detail. We will move through them quietly, a calm inventory of the mosts and the firsts and the onlys. The first known written recipe for a specific type of bread has been dated to around 1800 years ago. The recipe was inscribed on a clay tablet in a region of ancient Mesopotamia. It described a method for making a flat bread using barley flour and water. The instructions were practical and straightforward, intended for daily use. The longest-running continuous public broadcast event occurred during a specific national celebration. The broadcast lasted for over 100 hours, a single uninterrupted feed of the event. It was a technical achievement in terms of endurance and logistics. The broadcast itself was not dramatic. It was simply a long transmission of a celebration. The only known flying mammal is the bat. This is a specific biological classification based on the ability to sustain powered flight. This excludes animals like sugar gliders and flying squirrels, which glide rather than fly. Gliding is a controlled descent, while flying involves active propulsion through the air. The distinction is clear in biological terms. The deepest point in the ocean, the Mariana Trench, has been visited by humans in a submersible only a handful of times. The first successful visit was in 1960 by a naval vessel. The descent took several hours, and the submersible spent only a short time at the bottom. The depth is over 10,000 meters, a pressure that requires specialized equipment to survive. The first vehicle to travel on the moon was a specific model of rover deployed on a particular mission. The rover was a lightweight vehicle that could be folded for transport. It was used on the lunar surface to explore areas beyond the landing site. The vehicle was battery-powered and could travel several kilometers from the landing module. The smallest bird in the world is the bee hummingbird, which weighs less than a penny. It is so small that it is often mistaken for a bee in flight. This bird is also the smallest known dinosaur, as birds are a subgroup of dinosaurs. Its size is a specific biological adaptation to its environment and diet. The oldest known surviving globe was constructed in Germany in 1492. This globe was made before the Americas were widely known to Europeans. It was crafted from a pair of pressed linen shells and painted with a map of the known world. The globe is a precise artifact of geographical knowledge at that specific time. The most common element in the universe is hydrogen, making up about 3/4 of all matter. However, in the Earth's crust, the most common element is oxygen. Oxygen is abundant in rocks, minerals, and water on the planet. The difference is due to the chemical processes that formed the Earth compared to the rest of the universe. The largest animal on Earth is the blue whale. An adult blue whale can weigh over 150 tons. The whale's tongue alone can weigh as much as a fully grown elephant. This specific measurement is often cited to illustrate the scale of the animal. The tongue itself is a massive organ used for filtering food from the water. The first known map to show the world as a sphere was drawn by a specific cartographer in the 16th century. The map was an attempt to represent the Earth as a globe in a two-dimensional format. The projection used was a significant advancement in cartography. The map influenced subsequent explorers and navigators who relied on more accurate depictions. The first recorded use of a specific adhesive substance was by early humans to attach stone tools to wooden handles. The adhesive was made from tree resin mixed with other organic materials. This allowed for the creation of composite tools that were more effective than simple stone blades. The technique dates back at least 200,000 years. The longest recorded duration of a single human sleep event without waking is over 11 days. This was documented in a medical study on sleep deprivation and recovery. The individual slept continuously for that period after a prolonged period of wakefulness. The recovery sleep was a specific response to the extreme deprivation. The first known example of a written contract was discovered in Mesopotamia and dates back to around 2500 BC. The contract was a simple agreement for the sale of goods. It was inscribed on a clay tablet and witnessed by two individuals. The contract is a specific example of early legal and commercial practice. The oldest known musical instrument is a flute made from the bone of a bird. It was found in a cave in Europe and is estimated to be over 40,000 years old. The flute has finger holes and can still produce a scale of notes. It represents one of the earliest examples of human musical expression. The first known system of writing was developed by the Sumerians in Mesopotamia. This system used wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets and is called cuneiform. The earliest examples are simple records of goods and transactions. The system evolved over centuries to represent more complex ideas and stories. The longest wall built in the ancient world is not the Great Wall of China, but a structure in the Middle East. This wall was built by the Sassanid Empire and stretches for many miles. It was constructed as a defensive barrier and served a practical military purpose. The wall is a specific example of ancient engineering. The first known coin was minted in the Kingdom of Lydia in the 7th century BC. The coin was made of electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. It had a stamped design to mark its value and authenticity. The coin replaced the barter system in that region and standardized trade. The only continent with no native species of snakes is Antarctica. The climate is too cold to support them. All other continents have at least one species of snake. The absence is a simple result of environmental factors, not a biological anomaly. The oldest known wooden structure was discovered in Europe and dates back nearly 500,000 years. The structure is made of wood that was cut and shaped with stone tools. It is a simple platform or walkway, not a building. The discovery suggests early humans used wood for construction much earlier than previously thought. The first known glass artifacts were made in Mesopotamia around 3500 BC. These were small beads and ornaments, not functional objects. The glass was made from a mixture of sand and soda. The production of glass was a gradual process that developed over many centuries. The highest natural point on Earth is Mount Everest, which rises 8,848 meters above sea level. This is the specific measurement accepted by most authorities. The height was first calculated in the 19th century using surveying techniques. The mountain is part of the Himalayan range and continues to rise very slowly. The lowest natural point on land is the Dead Sea shore, which is over 400 meters below sea level. The water is so salty that it cannot support most fish species. The low elevation is due to the geological rift where the sea is located. The area is a specific result of tectonic activity. The first known use of a wheel was for pottery making, not for transport. The potter's wheel was used to spin clay into vessels. The wheel for vehicles came later, likely around 3500 BC. The potter's wheel represents a significant early technological advancement. The largest desert on Earth is not the Sahara, but the Antarctic desert. A desert is defined by its lack of precipitation, not its temperature. Antarctica receives very little snow or rain each year. It is the largest desert by area, covering over 14 million square kilometers. The first known painting was made on a cave wall and depicts a large animal. The painting is estimated to be over 40,000 years old. The pigment used was likely made from crushed earth and animal fat. The painting is a specific record of the world as seen by early humans. The longest river on Earth is the Nile, which flows for over 6,600 kilometers. This measurement has been debated, but the Nile is generally recognized as the longest. The river flows through multiple countries and provides water for agriculture. Its length is a specific geographic measurement. The highest waterfall on Earth is Angel Falls, which drops from a height of almost 1,000 meters. The water falls uninterrupted for most of that distance. The waterfall is located in a remote jungle region in South America. The height is a specific measurement that makes it the tallest. The first known use of concrete was by the Romans. They used it to build structures that have survived for centuries. The concrete was made from a mixture of lime, water, and volcanic ash. The material was strong and waterproof, making it ideal for building in wet environments. The oldest known living tree is a bristlecone pine in California, which is over 4,800 years old. The tree has been dated using tree ring analysis. It is a specific individual that has survived for millennia. The tree is a living link to a time before many known civilizations. The first known photograph was taken in the 1820s by a French inventor. The image was a view from his window and took several hours to expose. The photograph is a single, specific image that marks the beginning of photography. It is preserved as a historical artifact. The largest lake in the world by volume is Lake Baikal in Siberia. It contains about 20% of the world's fresh surface water. The lake is also the oldest, estimated to be over 25 million years old. Its depth and volume are specific measurements that make it unique among lakes. The first known use of zero as a number in mathematics was in ancient India. The concept of zero was used as a placeholder and a number in its own right. This was a significant development in mathematics. The use of zero allowed for the development of more complex arithmetic and algebra. The highest recorded temperature on Earth was measured in Death Valley, California, at 56.7 degrees Celsius. This is the highest temperature ever reliably recorded. The measurement was taken in 1913 and has been verified by meteorological authorities. The specific temperature is a record that stands to this day. Here is a collection of facts about the calendar and the measurement of time. These are not profound observations about the passage of years. They are the quiet, arbitrary decisions made by people to organize days and months. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of timekeeping's oddities. The Gregorian calendar was implemented in 1582 to correct a drift in the Julian calendar. The calendar had accumulated a significant error over centuries. To fix it, 10 days were removed from the month of October that year. In those countries that adopted the change, the 4th of October was followed directly by the 15th. The concept of a 7-day week does not come from a single source. It was adopted and spread by various empires for administrative reasons. The 7-day cycle was used in the ancient Near East and later by the Romans. The length of the week became standardized through cultural exchange and practical use. The names of our months are derived from Latin words for numbers. September means 7th, October means 8th, November means 9th, and December means 10th. These names were assigned when the Roman calendar began in March. The addition of January and February shifted the numbered months later in the year. The year 0 does not exist in the Gregorian calendar. The calendar goes directly from 1 BC to AD 1 without a year between them. This is because the concept of zero as a number was not widely used in Europe when the calendar was established. The numbering system was adopted without a placeholder for zero. The minute and the second are not based on decimal math. They come from a sexagesimal system, which uses base 60. This system was used by ancient Babylonians for mathematics and astronomy. The division of an hour into 60 minutes and a minute into 60 seconds comes from this ancient system. A leap second is occasionally added to the global clock to account for the Earth's slight variations in rotation speed. The Earth's rotation is not perfectly consistent and can slow down or speed up slightly. The leap second is added to keep atomic time aligned with solar time. The adjustments are irregular and occur only when necessary. The standard workday was not always 8 hours. The 8-hour workday was standardized through labor movements in the 19th and 20th centuries. Before this, workdays could be 10 or 12 hours long, depending on the industry. The change was a result of organized efforts for better working conditions. The difference between a solar day and a sidereal day is about 4 minutes. A solar day is measured by the sun's position in the sky. A sidereal day is measured by the stars and is the time it takes for the Earth to complete one rotation relative to the fixed stars. The difference is due to the Earth's movement along its orbit around the sun. The first mechanical clocks were invented to be used in monasteries for specific prayer schedules. The clocks were large, weight-driven devices that struck bells at regular intervals. They were designed to call monks to prayer at specific times of the day. The precise scheduling of prayers was the primary motivation for their development. Daylight saving time was originally proposed as a way to save energy. The idea was to shift an hour of daylight from the morning to the evening. The practical effect on modern energy consumption is debated among researchers. The change is a human-made adjustment that is not required by any natural phenomenon. The Julian calendar was introduced in 45 BC and had a leap year every 4 years. This system overcorrected and added too many days over the centuries. The calendar drifted relative to the seasons by about 3 days every 4 centuries. The error led to the eventual reform that created the Gregorian calendar. The ancient Egyptians used a calendar with 365 days, divided into 12 months of 30 days each. They added 5 extra days at the end of the year. These 5 days were considered a separate period outside the regular months. The calendar was used for administrative purposes and was remarkably accurate for its time. The Chinese calendar is a lunisolar calendar that tracks both the phases of the moon and the solar year. It has been used for thousands of years for both agricultural and ceremonial purposes. The calendar adds a leap month approximately every 3 years. This keeps the calendar aligned with the seasons. The Islamic calendar is purely lunar and is about 11 days shorter than the solar year. This means the Islamic months shift through the seasons over a cycle of about 33 years. The calendar is used for religious purposes and for determining the dates of Islamic holidays. The shorter year is a simple result of using lunar cycles. The concept of a week appears in many ancient cultures, but its length varies. The 7-day week is the most common and was adopted by the Roman Empire. The week is a purely human construct that does not correspond to any natural cycle. It was adopted for practical scheduling and has become the global standard. The first calendar with a leap year was the Julian calendar. It added an extra day every 4 years to account for the quarter day in the solar year. The calculation was slightly inaccurate, but it was a significant improvement over previous calendars. The leap year system is still used in the Gregorian calendar today. The year is approximately 365.2422 days long. This fractional day is why we need leap years to keep the calendar aligned with the seasons. The extra quarter day accumulates over time. Without the leap year, the calendar would drift by about 1 day every 4 years. The solstices and equinoxes are the 4 natural markers of the year. They are defined by the Earth's axial tilt relative to its orbit around the Sun. The solstices occur in June and December and mark the longest and shortest days. The equinoxes occur in March and September and have equal day and night lengths. The time zones we use today were established in the late 19th century. They were created to coordinate railway schedules and avoid confusion. Before this, every town used its own local time based on the position of the sun. The adoption of standard time zones was a practical solution to a growing transportation problem. The prime meridian is the 0-degree line of longitude. It passes through the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England. This was established at an international conference in 1884. The meridian is used as the basis for measuring longitude and for defining time zones. The international date line is an imaginary line on the Earth's surface. It runs roughly along the 180th degree of longitude. When you cross the line, the date changes by 1 day. This line was established to prevent confusion about the date and time as one travels around the world. The first known sundial was used in ancient Egypt and Babylon. It was a simple vertical stick or obelisk that cast a shadow. The position of the shadow indicated the time of day. Sundials were the most common timekeeping device for thousands of years. The hourglass was invented in the Middle Ages and was used for timing events. It consisted of 2 glass bulbs connected by a narrow neck. The time it took for the sand to run from one bulb to the other was consistent. Hourglasses were used for cooking, navigation, and measuring work shifts. The first accurate timepieces were pendulum clocks, invented in the 17th century. The pendulum's swing was consistent and could be used to regulate the clock. These clocks were much more accurate than previous mechanical clocks. They were the standard for scientific and everyday timekeeping for over 200 years. The development of the quartz clock in the 20th century improved accuracy significantly. These clocks used the vibrations of a quartz crystal to keep time. They were more accurate than pendulum clocks and cheaper to produce. Quartz technology became the basis for most watches and clocks. The atomic clock is the most accurate timekeeping device ever invented. It measures time based on the vibrations of atoms, specifically cesium. These clocks are accurate to within a fraction of a second over millions of years. They are used to calibrate other timekeeping devices and for scientific research. The concept of a leap year was first introduced to account for the fraction of a day in the solar year. The addition of an extra day every 4 years keeps the calendar aligned. The rule is simple, but includes exceptions to maintain accuracy. The system has been in use for over 2,000 years. The year number we use today is based on a system developed in the 6th century. The system was intended to number years from the estimated birth year of a specific individual. The system was adopted gradually and became the standard in the Western world. The numbering is a convention, not a requirement. The first calendars were based on the cycles of the moon. Early cultures used the phases of the moon to count the days. A lunar month is about 29.5 days long, making a lunar year about 354 days. The lunar year is shorter than the solar year, which was a problem for agricultural societies. The change from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar was not adopted by all countries at the same time. Some countries did not adopt the Gregorian calendar until centuries later. The gradual adoption was due to political and religious differences. The calendar is now the global standard, though some countries still use other systems. The standard 12-month year is a human convention that has been used for millennia. The division of the year into months was based on the lunar cycle. The 12-month year is not a natural unit of time. It is a practical way to organize the year into manageable segments. Here is a collection of facts about plants and the ground beneath them. These are not observations about the beauty of nature. They are specific, measurable details about how things grow and move and change. We will move through them quietly, a calm inventory of the world's quiet vegetation and geology. The tallest tree in the world is a coast redwood that stands over 115 meters tall. Its roots, however, are only a few meters deep. The tree relies on a wide, shallow network of roots that spread out horizontally. This system allows the tree to absorb water and nutrients from a large area while remaining anchored in the soil. Sunflowers exhibit a specific behavior called heliotropism, where they track the sun across the sky. This movement is driven by growth on the stem's shaded side, causing the flower to bend. The sunflower faces east in the morning and follows the sun westward. At night, the flower slowly turns back to the east, ready for the next sunrise. The smell of rain is not the water itself, but a chemical compound called geosmin. This compound is released from the soil by bacteria known as actinomycetes. The bacteria produce geosmin as part of their life cycle. When rain hits the ground, it stirs the air and carries this compound upward, creating the familiar earthy scent. Bananas are technically berries, according to botanical definitions. A berry is a fruit produced from a single ovary, with seeds embedded in the flesh. The common banana available in stores is a seedless mutant that cannot reproduce without human intervention. The plant is propagated from cuttings, not from seeds, as the seeds are not viable. An oak tree can produce acorns that are all genetically unique. Each acorn is a fertilized seed with its own combination of DNA. The tree produces millions of acorns over its lifetime, each with a different genetic makeup. This diversity is a result of sexual reproduction, which combines genetic material from two parent trees. The substance that makes soil rich and dark is a layer of decomposed organic matter, often called humus. This material is formed when dead leaves, roots, and other organic material break down. Humus is rich in nutrients and helps retain moisture in the soil. It gives healthy soil its dark color and crumbly texture. A specific species of grass in Australia has leaves that are a silver-gray color. This coloring is an adaptation to reduce heat absorption in the hot climate. The reflective surface of the leaves keeps the plant cooler by bouncing sunlight away. The color is a physical trait that aids in the plant's survival in a harsh environment. The Earth's crust is divided into several major tectonic plates that move slowly over time. The movement is continuous and measurable in centimeters per year. The plates glide on the semi-fluid layer of the mantle beneath them. This movement is responsible for earthquakes, volcanic activity, and the formation of mountains. The Amazon rainforest produces about 20% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. This is a calculation based on net primary productivity and atmospheric models. The forest is a vast area of dense vegetation that releases oxygen through photosynthesis. The total oxygen produced is a significant portion of the global total. The first known pollen was produced by a specific group of ancient plants. These plants existed before the dinosaurs and are now extinct. The pollen grains are preserved in the fossil record. The presence of pollen is a simple geological dating fact that helps scientists understand ancient climates. A single mature tree can absorb about 48 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. The tree uses the carbon dioxide in photosynthesis. The amount varies depending on the species, age, and growth rate. The absorption of carbon dioxide is a natural process that helps balance the atmosphere. The giant sequoia is among the oldest living organisms on the planet. Some individuals are over 3,000 years old. The trees grow slowly and can reach enormous sizes. Their longevity is due to their thick bark, which is resistant to fire and pests. The dandelion is a common plant that produces seeds that are dispersed by the wind. Each seed is attached to a tiny parachute-like structure called a pappus. The wind carries the seeds to new locations where they can germinate. This method of seed dispersal is efficient and allows the plant to spread over large areas. The Venus flytrap is a carnivorous plant that catches and digests insects. The plant has leaves that snap shut when an insect triggers small hairs inside. The closure is triggered by the movement of the insect. The plant then secretes digestive enzymes that break down the insect for nutrients. The rarest tree in the world is thought to be a species found only on a single island. It has a very small population and is critically endangered. The tree is a specific species with a limited range. Its rarity is a result of its restricted habitat and low reproduction rate. The fern is one of the oldest groups of plants, dating back to the Devonian period. Ferns reproduce through spores, not seeds. They were among the first plants to develop vascular tissue for transporting water. Their simple structure has remained largely unchanged for millions of years. The crocus is a flower that blooms in late winter or early spring. It is one of the first flowers to appear after the cold season. The crocus is native to Europe and Asia and has a wide distribution. Its early blooming is an adaptation to take advantage of sunlight before trees grow leaves. The redwood forest in California contains some of the tallest trees on Earth. The trees can grow to heights over 100 meters. The forest ecosystem is home to a variety of species that depend on the tall trees. The redwoods are adapted to the moist coastal climate of the region. The cactus is a plant adapted to survive in dry desert conditions. It has a thick stem that stores water for long periods. The leaves are reduced to spines to minimize water loss. The cactus can survive for months without rainfall by drawing on its water reserves. The oak tree produces acorns that are an important food source for wildlife. Many animals, such as squirrels and birds, depend on acorns for food. The acorns are high in fat and protein. The oak tree produces a large crop of acorns every few years, a phenomenon called mast seeding. The maple tree is known for its distinctive leaf shape and autumn colors. The tree produces a sugary sap that can be boiled into syrup. The sap is collected in late winter and early spring when the temperatures fluctuate. The process is a seasonal activity that has been practiced for centuries. The moss is a simple plant that grows in damp, shaded areas. Moss lacks vascular tissue and absorbs water directly through its leaves. It reproduces through spores, not seeds. Moss is one of the first plants to colonize bare ground and helps stabilize the soil. The bamboo is a grass that can grow at a rapid rate, up to several inches per day. It is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. The plant has a hollow stem that makes it light and strong. Bamboo is used in construction and for making furniture and utensils. The tulip is a flower that was historically associated with a specific region and became a symbol of wealth. The tulip bulb trade experienced a period of speculation known as tulip mania. The bulbs were valued for their beauty and rarity. The tulip remains a popular ornamental plant today. The seaweed is a marine plant that grows in oceans and seas. It is an important source of food for marine life. Seaweed is used as food and fertilizer in some cultures. The plant can grow in a variety of marine environments. from shallow coastal waters to deeper zones. The lotus is a water plant with large, floating leaves and showy flowers. The plant has a long history and is often associated with certain cultural traditions. The lotus grows in muddy water and rises above the surface to bloom. Its flowers have a specific structure that releases a pleasant fragrance. The spruce tree is a common evergreen tree that grows in northern climates. It has a conical shape and needle-like leaves. The tree is used for timber and paper production. The spruce is a hardy tree that can survive in cold temperatures and poor soil conditions. The poison ivy is a plant that causes a skin rash on contact. The plant contains a resin that triggers an allergic reaction. The rash is caused by the body's response to the resin. Poison ivy is found in North America and is a common plant in forests and fields. The orchid is a flowering plant with a wide variety of species. Orchids have complex flowers with a unique reproductive structure. They are found in tropical and temperate regions around the world. The orchid is a popular ornamental plant due to its beauty and diversity. The willow tree is known for its flexible branches and its association with water. The tree grows near rivers and lakes. Willow bark contains a substance similar to aspirin. The tree has been used historically for making baskets, furniture, and other woven items. The eucalyptus tree is native to Australia and is known for its distinctive leaves and bark. The tree produces a fragrant oil that has various uses. Eucalyptus is a fast-growing tree that can thrive in a variety of climates. It has been introduced to many other parts of the world for timber and paper production. The pine tree is an evergreen tree that produces cones. The cones contain the seeds of the tree. Pine trees are found in many parts of the world, especially in cooler climates. They are a common source of timber and resin. The sunflower is a tall annual plant with a large flower head. The flower head is actually a cluster of many small flowers. The sunflower is cultivated for its seeds, which are used for oil and as food. The plant is native to North America and has been domesticated for food and oil production. Here is a collection of facts about food and drink. These are not recipes or recommendations. They are the quiet, specific histories and compositions of what we consume. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of the edible and the drinkable. The average person consumes about 35 tons of food in a lifetime. This is a rough estimate based on average daily intake over a standard lifespan. The total includes all solid food, from vegetables to grains to meats. The amount is substantial, yet it is consumed gradually over many decades. The most widely consumed beverage in the world after water is tea. Tea is made from the leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant. The leaves are processed in different ways to produce green, black, and oolong varieties. Tea has been cultivated for thousands of years and is a staple in many cultures. The potato is the most consumed vegetable in the world. It is a tuber that grows underground and is a good source of carbohydrates. The potato originated in the Andes and was introduced to Europe in the 16th century. It has since become a staple food in many countries. The tomato is technically a fruit, botanically a berry. It is often used as a vegetable in cooking because of its savory flavor. The tomato originated in South America and was introduced to Europe by explorers. It is now a key ingredient in many cuisines around the world. The egg of a chicken is a complete protein source, meaning it contains all the essential amino acids. The egg is also a good source of vitamins and minerals. The egg is laid by a hen and can be eaten alone or used as an ingredient in cooking. It is a versatile food that is used in many dishes. The most consumed grain in the world is rice, a staple food for over half the world's population. Rice is a cereal grain that is grown in flooded paddies. It is a good source of carbohydrates and provides energy for daily activities. Rice is eaten as a whole grain or processed into flour and other products. The first recorded use of sugar as a sweetener was in ancient India. Sugar was made from sugarcane, a plant that grows in tropical climates. The process of extracting sugar from sugarcane was known for centuries. Sugar became a valuable commodity and was traded widely. The apple is a fruit that grows on a deciduous tree and is widely cultivated. There are thousands of varieties of apples, each with a different flavor and texture. The apple is a good source of fiber and vitamin C. It is eaten fresh or used in cooking and baking. The earliest known noodles were made from millet and date back over 4,000 years. They were found in a bowl in China. The noodles were thin and made by pressing the dough into shapes. Noodles are a simple food made from flour and water, often eaten with a sauce or broth. The coffee plant is native to Africa and was first cultivated in the Arabian Peninsula. The beans are roasted and ground to make a beverage. Coffee contains caffeine, a stimulant that can increase alertness. The beverage became popular in Europe in the 17th century. The first recorded recipe for pizza appeared in a cookbook in the late 19th century. The pizza was a simple flatbread with tomato sauce and cheese. The dish originated in Italy and has since become popular worldwide. The basic recipe has been adapted with many different toppings and variations. The most common type of cheese in the world is cheddar, which originated in a village in England. Cheddar is a firm cheese with a sharp flavor. It is made from cow's milk and aged for several months. The cheese is used in cooking and eaten on its own. The banana plant is not a tree but an herb, and the fruit is a berry. The plant grows from a rhizome and produces a single stem that bears fruit. The fruit is harvested green and ripens after picking. Bananas are a good source of potassium and are eaten fresh or used in cooking. The first known use of chocolate was in Mesoamerica, where it was used as a beverage. The cacao bean was roasted and ground into a paste. The paste was mixed with water and spices to make a frothy drink. Chocolate was considered valuable and was used in ceremonies. The most popular fish consumed worldwide is tuna. Tuna is a large predatory fish found in the open ocean. It is caught commercially and sold fresh, canned, or frozen. Tuna is a good source of protein and omega-3 fatty acids. It is used in salads, sandwiches, and cooked dishes. The earliest known use of honey as a sweetener predates recorded history. Honey was gathered from wild bees and used as food. It is a natural sweetener that does not spoil. Honey was used in ancient Egypt for food, medicine, and religious offerings. The lemon is a citrus fruit that originated in Asia. It has a sour taste due to its citric acid content. Lemons are used in cooking, in drinks, and as a flavoring. The zest and juice of the lemon are used to add flavor to a wide variety of dishes. The first known use of garlic dates back over 5,000 years. Garlic was used in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. It was eaten for its flavor and believed to have medicinal properties. Garlic is a bulbous plant in the onion family and is used as a seasoning. The most common cooking oil in the world is palm oil, derived from the fruit of the oil palm tree. It is used in many processed foods and for frying. The oil is high in saturated fat and is a major agricultural product. Palm oil is versatile and has a long shelf life. The onion is a vegetable that grows underground and is used as a flavoring in many cuisines. The onion has a pungent smell when cut, caused by the release of sulfur compounds. These compounds are responsible for the tears that often accompany cutting an onion. The first known use of a fork as a table utensil was in the Middle East. The fork was used to hold food while carving or eating. It was introduced to Europe in the medieval period. The fork is now a standard utensil in most cultures, though it is not used in all. The avocado is a fruit native to South America and is known for its creamy texture. The fruit is high in healthy fats and is used in salads, sandwiches, and guacamole. The avocado has a single large seed and a green or black skin. It is often eaten raw and has become popular worldwide. The earliest known form of bread was made over 30,000 years ago. It was a simple flat bread made from crushed grains mixed with water. The bread was cooked on hot stones or over an open fire. The discovery of bread making was a significant step in human history. The most common nut in the world is the peanut, which is technically a legume. The peanut grows underground and is harvested for its seeds. It is a good source of protein and healthy fats. Peanuts are eaten roasted, boiled, or processed into peanut butter. The first known use of the word soup comes from a French word meaning broth. Soup is a liquid food made by cooking ingredients in water or stock. The ingredients can include vegetables, meat, or grains. Soup is a versatile dish that has many variations across different cultures. The strawberry is a fruit that grows on a low-lying plant and is known for its bright red color. The strawberry is not a true berry, but an aggregate accessory fruit. It is a good source of vitamin C and is eaten fresh or used in desserts. The strawberry is a popular fruit in many countries. The first known use of a spoon as a utensil dates back to prehistoric times. Early spoons were made from wood, bone, or shell. The spoon is a simple tool with a bowl-shaped end for holding liquid or food. It is a universal utensil used in many different cultures. The salt we use today comes from either mining rock salt or evaporating seawater. Salt is a mineral composed of sodium and chlorine. It is essential for human health and is used as a preservative and seasoning. Salt has been traded and valued throughout history. The first known use of a knife as a utensil dates back to the Stone Age. Knives were originally made from flint or obsidian. The knife is a simple tool used for cutting and slicing food. It is a versatile utensil used in every culture for preparing and eating food. The most common type of sugar is sucrose, which is extracted from sugar cane or sugar beets. Sucrose is a disaccharide composed of glucose and fructose. Sugar is used to sweeten foods and beverages. It is a common ingredient in many processed foods and desserts. The first known use of a cup as a drinking vessel dates back thousands of years. Early cups were made from clay or bone. The cup is a simple container for holding liquids. It is a common object used for drinking water, tea, coffee, and other beverages. The water we drink is composed of hydrogen and oxygen, two of the most common elements. Water is essential for life and is the main component of the human body. It is a simple compound with a unique set of properties. Water is found in rivers, lakes, oceans, and underground aquifers. Here is a collection of facts from the footnotes of history. These are not the grand narratives of kings and battles. They are the small, overlooked details, the peculiar stories that sit quietly at the bottom of the page. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of history's less traveled corners. The historian Leopold von Ranke is often credited with inventing the scholarly footnote in the 19th century. In practice, his own footnoting was surprisingly sloppy and would not meet modern standards. The true origins of the footnote lie much earlier, in the 17th century, when scholars began to use them to prove their claims. They were a way to show that a text was based on verifiable sources, not just rumor or opinion. Pierre Bayle's Historical and Critical Dictionary of 1697 is a landmark in the history of footnotes. The book consisted in large part of footnotes, and even footnotes to footnotes. This structure allowed Bayle to present a straightforward narrative in the main text, while adding extensive commentary, evidence, and even satire in the notes below. His approach was widely imitated and satirized. One of the longest-known footnotes stretches to 165 pages. It appears in John Hodgson's History of Northumberland, published in 1840. This enormous footnote dwarfs the main text it accompanies, offering an extreme example of scholarly dedication. It was a footnote that essentially became its own separate book within a book. The historian Edward Gibbon used footnotes in the decline and fall of the Roman Empire as a place for irony. The main text of his history is written in a serious, grand style. In the footnotes, however, Gibbon would add witty, sarcastic, or even subversive comments that undercut the seriousness of the passage above. It was a way of having a private conversation with the reader. In 1819, the remains of the American revolutionary Thomas Paine were stolen from his grave in New York. His disciples were deeply devoted to him and began a long search for his relics. They treated his personal effects and, symbolically, his remains with a reverence that mirrored the veneration of religious figures. This was part of a movement to create a secular religion centered on Paine's ideas. The body parts of the scientist Galileo Galilei were removed from his tomb in 1737, a century after his death. 3 of his fingers, the ones he allegedly used to hold his heretical pen, and a tooth from his lower jaw were taken. These relics were placed in a glass jar and went missing for many years, before being rediscovered at an auction. They were eventually put on display in a science museum in Florence. The ancient Pythagoreans were a secretive society that combined mathematics with mysticism. They believed that all numbers could be expressed as ratios of whole numbers. When one of their members, Hippasus, discovered the existence of irrational numbers like the square root of 2, it threatened their entire worldview. According to legend, he was thrown overboard and drowned for revealing this dangerous truth. The first known written contract dates back to around 2500 BC in Mesopotamia. It was inscribed on a simple clay tablet and detailed an agreement for the sale of goods. The contract was witnessed by 2 individuals and is a clear example of early legal practice. It shows that the need to record agreements in writing is a very ancient impulse. The first historian born in the Philippines was a secular priest named Francisco Moreno. He was born in Manila around 1607 and wrote an ecclesiastical history of the Philippines in the mid-17th century. His work was intended as a report for the Spanish crown, but contained many personal opinions and remarks. It is a largely overlooked source for historians of the period. The practice of writing footnotes is itself a subject of historical study. Anthony Grafton's book, The Footnote, A Curious History, traces the development of this scholarly tool. Grafton argues that the footnote is a distinctly modern invention that allowed historians to tell 2 stories at once, the narrative of the past and the story of their own research. The footnote proves that the historian has done the work. Before the modern footnote, medieval scholars used marginal glosses to explain sacred texts. These glosses were considered intermediaries between the divine word and the reader. The footnote, in contrast, seeks to root the authority of a text in the historian's research and method. It is a shift from divine inspiration to human verification. The first mechanical clocks were not built for public use, but for monasteries. They were created in the medieval period to regulate the prayer schedules of monks. The clocks were large, heavy, weight-driven devices that struck bells at specific times. Their primary purpose was to call the monks to prayer, not to tell time for the general population. The earliest known writing system is cuneiform, developed by the Sumerians in Mesopotamia around 3400 BC. The earliest examples are not literary works but simple records of goods and transactions. The system used wedge-shaped marks pressed into soft clay tablets. It was a practical tool for administration and trade that eventually evolved into a complex writing system. The first known map to show the world as a sphere was drawn by the German cartographer Martin Waldseemüller in 1507. This map, which is a wall-sized woodcut, was a significant advancement in cartography. It was one of the first to depict the Americas as a separate continent and to name the Pacific Ocean. The map reflected the new geographical knowledge of the age of exploration. The oldest known living organism on Earth is not a tree, but a colony of seagrass in the Mediterranean Sea. This colony is estimated to be over 100,000 years old. It reproduces through cloning and has survived through dramatic climate changes. This long-lived organism is a quiet, unassuming presence in the ocean. The first true written recipe for a specific dish was found on a Babylonian clay tablet. It dates back to around 1700 BC and describes a method for making a stew. The recipe is practical and uses ingredients like lamb, onions, and spices. It is a simple, direct instruction for preparing a meal in the ancient world. The concept of the modern 8-hour workday was not always the standard. It was established in the 19th and 20th centuries through organized labor movements. Before this, factory workers often labored for 10 to 12 hours a day. The 8-hour day was a significant reform that changed the structure of daily life for millions. The first known example of a dictionary was created in ancient Mesopotamia. It was a collection of cuneiform tablets that listed and defined Sumerian words and their Akkadian translations. This was not a dictionary in the modern sense, but a practical tool for scribes and administrators. It represents an early effort to systematically organize and explain language. The first person to correctly propose that the Earth orbits the Sun was not Galileo or Copernicus. The ancient Greek astronomer Aristarchus of Samos made this proposal in the 3rd century BC. However, his ideas were not widely accepted at the time. It took nearly 2,000 years for the heliocentric model to become the accepted view. The first known postal system was developed in ancient Egypt and Persia. These systems were used to relay royal decrees and messages across the empire. The messengers traveled on horseback or by foot, using a network of roads and relay stations. This was the beginning of organized, long-distance communication. The first known use of the zero as a mathematical concept was in ancient India. Indian mathematicians developed the zero as a placeholder and as a number in its own right. This innovation allowed for the development of more advanced mathematical systems. The concept of zero was later transmitted to the Islamic world and then to Europe. The first known example of a history book was written by the Greek historian Herodotus in the 5th century BC. His Histories is a detailed account of the Greco-Persian Wars. Herodotus is often called the father of history because he was one of the first to systematically collect and record historical events. His work was a pioneering effort in the field. The first known example of a periodic table was created by the Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev in 1869. He organized the known elements based on their atomic weights and chemical properties. His table was a breakthrough that allowed scientists to predict the existence of elements that had not yet been discovered. It is a foundational tool for modern chemistry. The first known use of the word history itself comes from the Greek word historia, which meant inquiry, or knowledge acquired by investigation. The word was used by Herodotus to describe his method of gathering and presenting information. It implies a process of active investigation, not just a simple record of events. The first known encyclopedia was written by Pliny the Elder in the 1st century AD. His Natural History was a vast compilation of all knowledge known to the Roman world. The book covers topics from astronomy and geography to medicine and art. It is a remarkable work of research and compilation from a single author. The first known example of a book in its modern form was the Codex, which replaced the scroll. The Codex was made of folded pages bound together and could be written on both sides. This format made books easier to read, store, and carry. The adoption of the Codex was a significant technological shift. The first known library was created in ancient Assyria. It was a collection of thousands of cuneiform tablets on a wide variety of subjects. The library was organized by subject matter and was used by scholars and scribes. It represents an early effort to collect and preserve knowledge for public use. The first known example of a college or university was established in the Islamic world. The University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco was founded in 859 AD. It was a center of learning for the Islamic world. This institution is one of the oldest continuously operating degree-granting universities in the world. The first known example of a newspaper was circulated in ancient Rome. It was a daily bulletin called the Acta Diurna, or Daily Acts. It contained news of events, legal decisions, and public announcements. The bulletin was posted in public spaces and was meant to inform the citizenry. The first known use of the term fact in its modern sense came about during the scientific revolution. It was used to describe something that had been observed and could be verified. The concept of a fact as a piece of objective information was a key development in the history of science. It was a move away from relying on authority and tradition. The first known map of the stars was created in ancient Babylon. It was a catalogue of stars and their positions in the night sky. The Babylonians were skilled astronomers who could predict celestial events like eclipses. Their star maps were a practical tool for timekeeping and navigation. The first known example of a railway was a simple track used in ancient Greece. It was a rutway carved into stone that allowed carts to be pulled more easily. This early track was a practical solution for moving heavy loads. The concept of a guided track for vehicles is thousands of years old. The first known book on mathematics was written by the Greek mathematician Euclid. His Elements is a foundational text on geometry. It was written in the 3rd century BC and was used as a textbook for over 2,000 years. It is one of the most influential works in the history of mathematics. Here is a collection of facts about boundaries, borders, and the maps we draw on the world. These are not stories of conquest or great strategy. They are the quiet, often arbitrary lines that separate one place from another, usually decided by accident or convenience. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of the world's divisions. The border between the United States and Canada is often called the longest undefended border in the world. It stretches for nearly 9,000 kilometers across land and water. It is not entirely straight, as it follows the 49th parallel for much of its length, but it curves around the Great Lakes and follows the St. Lawrence River. This long line was established through negotiation, not war. The border between Poland and Ukraine is not a straight line. It follows the meandering path of the Bug River for a significant portion. This river border was established after the Second World War. It cuts through forests and fields, dividing communities that were once connected. The river itself is a natural boundary, but its course is winding and irregular. The border between North and South Korea is known as the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. It is a strip of land about 4 kilometers wide and 250 kilometers long. It is one of the most heavily fortified borders in the world, despite its name. It was established in 1953 and has remained a tense and restricted area ever since. The border between the Netherlands and Belgium is noted for its peculiar enclaves. There are small pieces of one country completely surrounded by the other. This is due to a complex history of land ownership and feudal rights. The map looks like a jigsaw puzzle, with small pockets of Belgium inside the Netherlands and vice versa. The border between India and Bangladesh is also known for its complexity. It has many exclaves, which are pieces of one country isolated inside another. This was a result of historical land divisions during the partition of India. The arrangement made administration difficult and was only resolved through a land swap agreement in 2015. The border between Argentina and Chile runs along the crest of the Andes Mountains. This is a classic example of a natural boundary, using the highest points of a mountain range. However, the exact line was disputed for many years. The dispute was eventually settled with a treaty that defined the border using the Continental Divide. The border between the United States and Mexico follows the Rio Grande for a portion of its length. The river's course has shifted over time, leading to disputes about the exact location of the border. This has created a unique situation where the boundary is not a fixed line but a shifting waterway. The exact ownership of small pieces of land changes when the river changes course. The border between China and Russia is one of the longest international borders. It stretches for over 4,000 kilometers. The border was established through a series of treaties in the 19th and 20th centuries. It largely follows the Amur, Ussuri, and Argun rivers, using these waterways as natural dividing lines. The border between Germany and the Netherlands is notable for a small piece of land that is considered neutral territory. This area is a small piece of land near the town of Vals. It is a tripoint where Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium meet. The exact spot is marked by a specific stone and has a complex history of ownership. The border between Malaysia and Indonesia on the island of Borneo is largely defined by the watershed of the island. The line follows the drainage divides between rivers. This was a practical method for the colonial powers to divide the island. The border is not always easy to see on the ground, as it often passes through dense jungle. The border between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland is a relatively straight line. It was established in 1921 and separates Northern Ireland from the Republic. The line is not a natural boundary, but a political one. It is the only land border between the UK and an EU member state. The border between Saudi Arabia and Yemen is not a clearly defined line on the ground. It is a desert border with few natural features. The exact boundary was disputed for many years. It was only formally agreed upon in 2000, a relatively recent resolution. The border between Turkey and Syria was established after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. It was drawn up by colonial powers. The line cuts across the landscape and separates communities. It remains a source of tension due to political instability in the region. The border between Sudan and South Sudan is a long and complex line. It was established when South Sudan gained independence in 2011. The border follows the line that separated the North and South during the colonial period. It is a region of ongoing dispute over oil resources. The border between China and India is a contentious line in the Himalayas. It is called the line of actual control. It is not a mutually agreed upon border, but a de facto military line. The area is difficult to patrol due to the high altitude and remote terrain. The border between Greece and Turkey is a maritime border in the Aegean Sea. The line is disputed due to the complex arrangement of islands. The border determines the territorial waters of both countries. This dispute has led to tensions and diplomatic disagreements. The border between Egypt and Libya is a straight line drawn across the desert. It was established by colonial powers in the late 19th century. The line has no natural features and runs for hundreds of kilometers. It is a clear example of an arbitrary political division. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is a line known as the Durand Line. It was established in 1893 by a British civil servant. The line divides the Pashtun tribal areas and has been a source of conflict. It is not recognized by Afghanistan as the official border. The border between Mexico and Guatemala is a winding line that follows rivers. It was established after the independence of both countries. The border passes through jungle and mountainous terrain. It is a relatively peaceful border compared to others in the region. The border between Sweden and Norway is a long and mountainous line. It was established in 1905. The border is known for its lack of conflict and open nature. It is a model of a peaceful and cooperative international boundary. The border between Canada and Greenland is a long maritime border. It is mostly in the high Arctic. The border passes through the Nares Strait. It is a remote area with few settlements. The border between Iran and Iraq is a long and disputed line. It was established in the early 20th century. The border was a cause of the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. The line is still a sensitive geopolitical issue. The border between Libya and Chad is a line drawn across the desert. It was established by colonial powers. The line is largely arbitrary and has no natural features. It is a region of ongoing political instability. The border between Thailand and Cambodia is a line that has been disputed for centuries. It follows the Dangrek Mountains. The border is home to the Priya Vihir Temple. The ownership of the temple has been a source of conflict. The border between China and Mongolia is a long and straight line. It was established in the early 20th century. The line separates the Gobi Desert. It is one of the longest land borders in the world. The border between Russia and Finland is a line that was drawn after the Second World War. It is a forested and lake-filled region. The border is known for its peaceful nature. It is a key crossing point for trade between the two countries. The border between Germany and Poland is a line that was redrawn after the Second World War. It follows the Oder-Neisse line. This was a significant shift in the borders of Europe. It is now a settled boundary. The border between Namibia and South Africa is a line in the desert. It follows the Orange River for a portion. The border was established during the colonial period. It is a relatively peaceful border. The border between Saudi Arabia and Oman is a line in the Rub al Khali Desert. It is a largely undefined and unmarked border. The line was established in the 1990s. It is a remote and sparsely populated area. The border between Norway and Russia is a short line in the Arctic. It is defined by a single marker on the ground. The border is a small but significant crossing point. The border between France and Monaco is a line that surrounds the tiny principality. It is a fully enclosed border. Monaco is a small city-state on the French Riviera. The border between Brazil and Peru is a line that runs through the Amazon rainforest. It was established in the early 20th century. The line is a remote and inaccessible area. The border between Colombia and Venezuela is a long and sometimes tense line. It was established in the 19th century. The border is a region of active trade and political dispute. Here is a collection of facts about brands, companies, and the origins of things we buy. These are not stories of marketing genius or corporate triumph. They are the quiet, often accidental beginnings of familiar names and products. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of commercial origins. The first product to bear a barcode was a pack of Wrigley's chewing gum, scanned in 1974. The barcode was a simple series of lines that could be read by a machine. This system made checkout faster and more accurate. The first scan was a small moment that marked the beginning of a major shift in retail. The name Nike comes from the Greek word for victory, but the brand was almost called something else. The company was originally named Blue Ribbon Sports. The name was changed to Nike in 1971, inspired by a suggestion from an employee. The famous swoosh logo was designed by a graphic design student and purchased for a small sum. The first McDonald's restaurant was not a fast food chain, but a simple drive-in barbecue spot. It was opened in 1940 by the McDonald brothers in California. The menu was extensive, and the service was slow. The brothers later streamlined the menu and introduced the speedy service system, which became the model for fast food. The Coca-Cola formula was originally developed as a medicinal beverage. It was created by a pharmacist in 1886 who was looking for a cure for headaches. The drink was sold at a soda fountain for 5 cents a glass. The recipe has been a closely guarded secret ever since. The first Lego bricks were not the plastic interlocking blocks we know today. The company started as a small woodworking shop in Denmark. It made wooden toys, including a simple wooden duck. The plastic bricks were introduced in 1949, but they did not become popular until the 1960s. The name Google is a misspelling of the word Google, which is a number represented by a 1 followed by 100 zeros. The founders chose the name to represent the vast amount of information they intended to organize. The misspelling was an accident, but it has become one of the most recognized brand names in the world. The first Apple logo featured Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree. It was complex and not very memorable. The logo was replaced with the iconic rainbow apple in 1977. The current logo is a simpler, monochromatic version of the apple shape. The evolution of the logo reflects the company's shift from a niche computer maker to a global brand. The first patent for a zipper was not for clothing but for shoes. The inventor, Whitcomb Judson, called his invention the clasp locker and intended it for boots. The device was cumbersome and didn't work well. It took decades of refinement before the zipper became a standard fastener. The term Velcro is a portmanteau of the French words for velvet and hook. The inventor was inspired by burrs that stuck to his dog's fur. The hook and loop fastener is a simple yet effective design that has found widespread use. The name is a combination of the two key components of the product. The first Post-it notes were the result of a failed attempt to create a super-strong adhesive. The chemist who invented it found a weak glue that would stick but could be easily removed. He considered it a failure. It was only later that a colleague realized the potential for using it to mark pages in a hymnal. The name Starbucks was inspired by a character in the novel Moby Dick. The founders wanted a name that evoked the old-world feel of coffee trading. They considered several names before settling on Starbucks. The logo, a two-tailed siren, was also inspired by maritime imagery. The first Barbie doll was introduced in 1959 and was based on a German doll called Bild Lilly. The doll was a fashion model and was marketed to girls as a way to imagine their future. Barbie has since become one of the most successful toys in history. The original doll wore a black and white striped swimsuit. The first television remote control was called the Lazy Bones and was connected to the television by a wire. It was introduced in 1950 and allowed viewers to change the channel from their chair. The wireless remote was introduced in 1955. The remote has since evolved to control many other devices. The name Pepsi comes from the word dyspepsia, which means indigestion. The drink was originally marketed as a digestive aid. The name was intended to convey that the drink could help with stomach problems. The brand has since shifted its focus to being a refreshing beverage. The first ballpoint pen was invented by a Hungarian journalist who was frustrated with fountain pens. He created a pen that used a small ball bearing to transfer ink to the paper. The first pens were sold in Argentina in the 1940s. The pen was a practical solution to a common problem. The name Sony is a combination of the Latin word sonus for sound and the English word sonny for a young boy. The founders wanted a name that was easy to pronounce in any language. The name was chosen to reflect the company's focus on audio products. It has since become a global electronics brand. The first box of Crayola crayons was sold in 1903 and contained 8 colors. The colors were black, brown, blue, red, purple, orange, yellow, and green. The box cost 5 cents. Crayola has since expanded to include dozens of colors with whimsical names. The name Mazda was inspired by the Zoroastrian god of light and wisdom. The company chose the name because it was also the name of the founder's family. The name was intended to evoke a sense of intelligence and enlightenment. The logo, an elongated wing shape, symbolizes growth and creativity. The first Volkswagen Beetle was designed in the 1930s as a car for the common German citizen. The design was simple and practical. The car was intended to be affordable and reliable. The Beetle became one of the most popular cars in the world. The name Lego comes from the Danish words leg godt, which mean play well. The name was chosen to reflect the company's purpose. The name is also a Latin word meaning I put together. This dual meaning was a happy coincidence. The first Hello World program was written in 1972 by a computer scientist. It was used to demonstrate the syntax of the B programming language. The program simply printed the words Hello World on the screen. It has since become the standard introductory program for new programming languages. The name Rolex was chosen because it is easy to pronounce in many languages. The founder wanted a name that would sound good on a wristwatch. The name was short and memorable. It is now one of the most recognized luxury watch brands in the world. The first Band-Aid was invented by a cotton buyer who wanted to help his wife. He would cut pieces of adhesive tape and attach gauze to them. The bandage was designed to be simple and easy to apply. The company that makes them has sold billions of bandages since. The name Kodak was invented by the founder and has no meaning in any language. He wanted a name that was short and easy to pronounce. The name was also distinctive and easy to trademark. The name has become synonymous with photography. The first talking motion picture was released in 1927. It was a film called The Jazz Singer. The film used synchronized sound and music. It marked the beginning of the end for silent films. The technology was quickly adopted by the film industry. The name Fender comes from the surname of the founder. He started making electric guitars in his garage. His designs became iconic and were used by many famous musicians. The company has remained a major player in the musical instrument industry. The first microwave oven was invented in 1945 after a radar engineer noticed that a candy bar melted in his pocket. He experimented with microwave radiation and found it could cook food quickly. The first commercial oven was large and expensive. It was not until the 1970s that microwaves became common in homes. The name Toyota comes from the surname of the founder. The family name was originally pronounced differently, but the company changed the spelling to simplify it. The name is now one of the most recognized automotive brands in the world. The logo is a stylized representation of the company's name. The first email was sent in 1971 by a computer engineer. The message was a simple test and was sent between 2 machines in the same room. The invention of email was a significant step in the development of the Internet. It has become one of the most common forms of communication. The name Amazon was chosen because the founder wanted a name that started with A and was exotic and different. The Amazon River is the largest river in the world, which was fitting for a company that intended to be the largest bookstore. The name has since become synonymous with online retail. The first video game was a simple tennis game called Pong. It was introduced in 1972 and was a simple simulation of table tennis. The game was immediately popular and spawned many imitators. It is considered a classic of the early video game era. Here is a collection of facts about numbers, counting, and the various systems we have used to quantify the world. These are not stories about great mathematical breakthroughs. They are the quiet, arbitrary origins of how we count and measure, and the odd leftovers from those systems. We will move through them one by one, a calm inventory of numerical curiosities. The number we call 0 was not always part of the number system. The ancient Greeks and Romans did not have a symbol for 0 as a number in its own right. It was used as a placeholder in some systems, but it was not considered a true number. The concept was developed independently in several cultures and took time to become a standard part of arithmetic. The way we write numbers today is based on the Hindu-Arabic numeral system. This system originated in India and was transmitted to Europe through the Islamic world. It uses 10 digits from 0 to 9 to represent all numbers. The system's efficiency and ease of calculation led to its widespread adoption. The origin of the word calculus comes from the Latin word for pebble. The ancient Romans used pebbles to perform arithmetic on counting boards. The word was used for the process of calculation itself. It has since come to refer to a branch of mathematics that deals with change. The number 12 has a special place in many measurement systems. There are 12 inches in a foot and 12 months in a year. This is because the number 12 is highly divisible and can be divided evenly by 2, 3, 4, and 6. The ancient Babylonians used a base 60 system, and the number 12 was a useful factor within it. The choice of 12 as a base for counting was practical for trade and commerce. The word score means 20 and is used in the phrase 70 years ago. This word is a remnant of an older counting system where groups of 20 were used as a standard unit. It is related to the practice of counting sheep by making notches on a stick. The word has remained in the language as a specific count. The number 7 is often considered a lucky or special number in many cultures. This is likely due to its appearance in the sky as the 7 classical planets visible to the naked eye. The 7-day week was adopted for administrative and practical reasons. The number's frequent use in these contexts has given it a unique status. The concept of a billion is defined differently in different number systems. In the short scale, a billion is 1,000 million, or 10 square. In the long scale, a billion is 1 million million, or 10^12. The short scale is used in the United States and most English-speaking countries, while the long scale is used in some European countries. This difference can lead to confusion when discussing large numbers. The first known use of a decimal point was in the 15th century, but it was not widely used. The mathematician Simon Stevin promoted the use of decimal fractions in the 16th century. He used a notation with circled numbers to indicate the place value. The modern decimal point became common in the 17th century with the spread of the printing press. The number 13 has a specific association with bad luck in some cultures. This superstition is relatively recent and likely has multiple origins. The fear of the number 13 is called triskaidekaphobia. It is so common that many buildings skip the 13th floor. This is a specific example of a number taking on a social meaning. The first known use of the plus and minus signs was in a book on arithmetic published in 1489. The signs were used to indicate surplus and deficit in a business context. They were quickly adopted by mathematicians for addition and subtraction. The symbols have remained essentially unchanged for over 500 years. The number 40 appears frequently in historical and religious texts. It is often used to represent a long period of time, such as 40 days and 40 nights. This is likely because 40 is a large enough number to be significant, but not too large to be impractical. It also has mathematical properties that make it useful as a round number. The first known use of the equal sign was in 1557 by the Welsh mathematician Robert Recorde. He chose the symbol because he thought, no two things can be more equal than two parallel lines. The symbol is a simple and intuitive representation of balance. It has become one of the most recognized mathematical symbols in the world. The number 365 is the number of days in a year, but the solar year is actually 365,2422 days. This fractional day is why we have leap years. The extra quarter day accumulates over time and must be adjusted. The calculation of the solar year was a significant achievement in ancient astronomy. The number 360 was used by the ancient Babylonians to divide a circle into degrees. They used a base 60 system, and 360 is a multiple of 60. It is also a highly divisible number, making it useful for geometry and navigation. The choice of 360 degrees has persisted for thousands of years. The number 2 is the only even prime number. It is the simplest and most fundamental prime. All other prime numbers are odd. The number 2 is also the basis of the binary system, which is used in modern computers. The first known use of a tally stick for counting dates back tens of thousands of years. These were simple pieces of bone or wood with notches carved into them. The notches represented a count of items or a passing of days. They were a practical tool for record-keeping before the invention of writing. The number 9 is the highest single-digit number in the decimal system. It has interesting mathematical properties, such as the fact that the sum of the digits of any multiple of 9 is also a multiple of 9. This property is used in a method of checking calculations called casting out nines. The number has a unique position in the base 10 system. The first known use of a mechanical calculating device was the abacus. This tool was used for arithmetic in many ancient cultures. The abacus consisted of beads that could be moved to represent numbers. It was a practical way to perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The number 6 is the first perfect number, meaning that its factors 1, 2, and 3 add up to the number itself. The next perfect number is 28. Perfect numbers are rare and are of interest to number theorists. The search for perfect numbers has been a part of mathematics for thousands of years. The number 144 is called a gross, meaning 12 dozen. This is another remnant of the duodecimal system. The word is used in wholesale and retail contexts to describe a standard unit of quantity. It is a specific count that has survived from older measurement systems. The number 100 was not always the standard for 100. In some older systems, 100 was 120 or 108. The modern 100 is a decimal convenience. The word hundred itself comes from an Old Norse word meaning 120. This reflects the varied ways people have counted. The number 1000 is the first number with 4 digits. It is often used as a round number to represent a large quantity. The word thousand has roots in many ancient languages. It is a basic unit of measurement for large counts. The first known use of a counting board for calculation predates written history. These boards were simple surfaces with pebbles or markers arranged in columns. The columns represented different place values. This system was used by the Romans and other ancient civilizations. The number 3 is the smallest prime number greater than 2. It is also the smallest number that forms a shape, a triangle. 3 is a fundamental number in geometry. It is the number of sides in the simplest polygon. The number 5 is the only prime number that ends in 5. All other numbers ending in 5 are divisible by 5. It is a significant number in many counting systems, as it is half of 10. The number 5 is also the number of fingers on a human hand. The concept of infinity is not a number, but a concept of endlessness. It is used in calculus and set theory. The symbol for infinity, minzidate, was introduced in the 17th century. It is a simple notation for a complex idea. The number 10 is the base of our decimal system. This is likely due to counting on fingers. The decimal system has become the standard for most mathematical calculations. It is a practical system that is easy to learn and use. The number 0 is the only number that is not positive or negative. It is the additive identity, meaning that any number plus 0 is the same number. The 0 is a placeholder and a number in its own right. It is a fundamental part of modern mathematics. The number 11 is the first two-digit prime number. It is a palindromic number, meaning it reads the same forwards and backwards. The number 11 has interesting properties in multiplication. It is a simple number that is easy to work with. The number 20 is used as a base in some languages, such as French, which has a word for 80, meaning 4 20s. This is a remnant of a base 20 counting system. This system was likely based on counting fingers and toes. The number 20 has a specific linguistic significance. The number 4 is the first composite number, meaning it has factors other than 1 and itself. It is the smallest number with a square root. The number 4 is also the number of directions in a standard compass. It is a basic and useful number in many contexts. The number 8 is the first cube number greater than 1, as 2 cube equals 8. It is the number of bits in a byte, a fundamental unit in computing. The number 8 also has a unique place in Chinese culture. It is considered a lucky number in many Asian cultures. Here is a collection of facts about sleep. These are not tips for better rest or stories of great scientific discovery. They are the quiet, specific details about what happens when we close our eyes, the odd behaviors of sleeping animals, and the strange ways our bodies behave at night. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of the world of slumber. Humans spend roughly 1/3 of their lives asleep. This means an average lifespan of 75 years yields about 25 years spent in bed. The calculation is a simple division of time, a significant portion of existence dedicated to unconsciousness. This is a consistent figure across most modern studies of human sleep patterns. Within 5 minutes of waking, about 50% of a dream's content is forgotten. After an additional 5 minutes, that figure jumps to 90%. The rapid fading of dream memories is a consequence of the brain shifting from the dream state to waking cognition. The brain does not actively store most dream content, which is why these vivid experiences often vanish so quickly. Most adults experience 4 to 6 distinct dreams per night. These dreams occur during the REM stages of sleep, which cycle on and off throughout the night. The dreams themselves often last only a few minutes each. The total time spent dreaming across a full night is about 2 hours. The ideal time to fall asleep is between 10 and 20 minutes after lying down. If a person falls asleep in less than 5 minutes, it is often a sign of significant sleep deprivation. If it takes much longer than 20 minutes, it may indicate poor sleep hygiene or underlying issues. This window is a useful metric for evaluating sleep quality. A single night of disrupted sleep can reduce the ability to learn and remember new information by approximately 40%. This effect is caused by the brain's inability to properly consolidate memories during the night. The cognitive impact of a poor night's rest is immediate and measurable. The 1998 Exxon Valdez oil spill, the Challenger space shuttle disaster, and the Chernobyl nuclear accident have all been linked to human error resulting from sleep deprivation. These are not small incidents but major historical events with catastrophic consequences. The connection to fatigue highlights the widespread effects of insufficient rest on performance and safety. The record for the longest a human has deliberately stayed awake is just over 11 days, achieved in 1964. The individual, a teenager at the time, experienced significant cognitive and perceptual changes, but ultimately recovered. This record is an extreme example of the limits of human wakefulness. English bulldogs are the only known animals that naturally suffer from sleep apnea. This is due to their specific physical characteristics, including their short snouts and underbites, which constrict their airways. The condition makes their breathing patterns during sleep similar to those seen in humans with sleep apnea. Koalas sleep for an impressive 18 to 22 hours each day. This makes them one of the sleepiest animals on the planet. Their diet of eucalyptus leaves is low in nutrition, requiring a slow metabolism and extended rest. The long sleep periods are a direct result of their unique diet. Giraffes, in contrast, need very little sleep, often less than 2 hours per day. They take short naps lasting only 5 to 10 minutes at a time. This minimal sleep requirement is an adaptation to life on the open savanna, where they are vulnerable to predators. Their sleep pattern is an evolutionary strategy for survival. Sea otters hold hands while sleeping to prevent themselves from drifting apart in the ocean currents. This behavior, often observed in groups, ensures they stay together as a raft. It is a practical solution to a problem posed by their marine environment. The image of sleeping otters holding hands is a well-documented piece of natural history. Dolphins and whales sleep with one half of their brain at a time. This is called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. It allows them to continue swimming, surface for air, and remain aware of predators while still getting rest. This adaptation is essential for life in the water. The fear of falling asleep is a recognized condition called somnophobia. It is often linked to anxiety, sleep paralysis, or nightmares. People with this condition may actively avoid sleep, leading to serious health consequences. It is a specific anxiety disorder with a clinical name. Sign language can appear in the sleep of deaf individuals who use it as their primary language. Their hands and fingers may move, as if they are signing in their dreams. This is a natural manifestation of their language in the sleeping brain. The phenomenon is similar to sleep talking in hearing individuals. The position in which a person sleeps may reveal aspects of their personality, according to some studies. For example, those who sleep in the fetal position are sometimes described as sensitive souls. The connection is not definitive, but it is a documented area of psychological research. Sleeping on the left side can help with digestion and reduce acid reflux. This is due to the orientation of the stomach and esophagus relative to gravity. The position helps keep stomach acid in the lower digestive tract. It is a simple positional recommendation for managing digestive issues. Sleeping on the back is the safest position for babies, but it can increase the risk of sleep apnea in adults. In this position, the tongue can fall back and obstruct the airway. This can lead to breathing interruptions and contribute to health problems over time. The safety of the position varies significantly by age. A core body temperature drop is necessary to initiate sleep. The body cools down slightly as part of the sleep onset process. Heat sources like electric blankets can interfere with this natural drop and disrupt sleep quality. The temperature regulation is a key biological marker of the sleep cycle. Counting sheep is widely considered an ineffective method for falling asleep. Scientists suggest it is too monotonous to be distracting. Imagining a calming landscape, such as a beach or a forest, is often more effective. The practice of counting sheep is a cultural myth rather than a practical technique. The ideal room temperature for sleep is between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. This range supports the body's natural cooling process. A cooler environment is consistently associated with better sleep quality. The specific temperature recommendation is based on physiological research. Blue light emitted from phone and television screens can suppress the production of melatonin. This hormone regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Exposure to blue light before bed can interfere with the natural onset of sleep. It is a well-documented effect of modern screen use. Insomnia is considered chronic when a person has difficulty sleeping at least a certain number of nights per week for a month or longer. The exact number varies, but is typically defined as a persistent problem. This classification helps distinguish between short-term and long-term sleep issues. The study of sleep patterns is conducted using an instrument called an electroencephalograph, or EEG. This device measures brainwave activity. It is the primary tool used by scientists to analyze the different stages of sleep. The EEG has been fundamental to sleep research for decades. Parasomnia is a general term for sleep disturbances like sleepwalking, bedwetting, and night terrors. These conditions are not always caused by psychological problems. They can have various physical and environmental triggers. The term is a medical classification for a range of atypical sleep behaviors. According to legend, sleepwalkers should not be awakened, but the opposite is true. It is generally safe to wake a sleepwalker, especially if they are in a dangerous situation. This is a common myth that has persisted despite being proven inaccurate. The priority is the safety of the sleepwalker. Narcolepsy is a condition characterized by sudden and unexplainable attacks of deep sleep during the day. It can cause a person to fall into REM sleep very quickly. The exact cause of narcolepsy is not fully understood, but it is a recognized neurological disorder. It can be a debilitating condition for those who have it. Food can affect the vividness of dreams. Sugar may bring vivid dreams, while greasy foods can make it harder to sleep. The digestive process can interfere with sleep quality. Diet is a factor that can influence both the ability to fall asleep and the nature of dreams. Snoring only occurs during non-REM sleep. It is associated with the deeper, more relaxed stages of sleep. The noise is caused by the vibration of tissues in the airway. This is a specific detail about the physiology of snoring. Anxiety and depression are commonly linked with insomnia. Racing thoughts can make it difficult to fall asleep. The relationship between mental health and sleep is well established. These conditions can both cause and be exacerbated by sleep disturbances. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours, meaning that much of its stimulant effect persists long after consumption. This is why experts recommend avoiding caffeine several hours before bed. The lingering effects can significantly disrupt the ability to fall asleep. The timing of caffeine intake is crucial for quality rest. 1 in 4 married couples sleep in separate beds. For many, this arrangement actually helps them sleep better. The reason is often differences in schedules, snoring, or personal comfort preferences. This is a common and increasingly accepted sleeping arrangement. Here is a collection of facts about the quiet lore of the animal kingdom. These are not majestic tales of apex predators or extraordinary survival. They are the small, precise details of animal behavior, the specific measurements, the peculiar habits, and the humble names for animal groupings. We will move through them one by one, a calm inventory of the creatures we share the planet with. The slowest mammal on Earth is the three-toed sloth, which moves at a top speed of about 0.15 miles per hour in the trees. This incredibly slow pace is a metabolic adaptation to its diet of low-calorie leaves. Moving so slowly actually helps the sloth conserve energy and avoid detection by predators. This languid movement defines its entire existence. The heart of a blue whale is so large that a human could swim through its major arteries. This organ weighs about 1,300 pounds and is the size of a small car. The blue whale's heartbeat can be detected from several miles away, a low-frequency thrum that is barely audible to the human ear. Its sheer scale is a defining feature of the largest animal on Earth. The study of animal behavior is called ethology. This field looks at how animals interact with each other and their environment. Ethologists observe everything from mating rituals to feeding patterns, often over long periods. It is a patient science that reveals the hidden logic behind animal actions. The heart of a shrimp is located in its head. This is a specific anatomical feature that differs from most other crustaceans. The positioning is related to the animal's body structure. It is an odd detail that is often repeated as a piece of biological trivia. The tongue of a blue whale can weigh as much as an elephant. This is another astonishing measurement associated with this massive animal. The tongue is used to filter krill from the water. Its size is proportionate to the whale's enormous body. A group of flamingos is called a flamboyance. This is a specific collective noun for these brightly colored birds. The name reflects their vivid pink feathers and dramatic group displays. It is a more colorful term than the usual words for animal groups. The teeth of a snail are located on its tongue. This unique structure is called a radula and is used for scraping food. The radula is covered in tiny, tooth-like structures. This is a specific adaptation for feeding in mollusks. The eye of an ostrich is larger than its brain. This measurement is a specific anatomical ratio. The large eye is an adaptation for spotting predators on the open savanna. It is a quirk of the bird's physiology. The fingerprints of a koala are so similar to human fingerprints that they can be confused at crime scenes. This is a specific and surprising similarity between species. Koalas have ridges on their fingertips that are almost indistinguishable from our own. It is a curious piece of convergent evolution. The tongue of a chameleon can be twice the length of its body. This is an extreme example of a specialized body part. The tongue shoots out with incredible speed to capture prey. It is a specific adaptation for hunting insects. A group of crows is called a murder. This is a specific and rather ominous collective noun. The name likely comes from old folklore and folk tales. It is one of the more famous and evocative terms for a group of animals. A male giraffe will often headbutt a female in the bladder to force her to urinate. This is a specific and unusual behavior related to courtship. It is a way for the male to assess the female's reproductive status. It is a strange detail of animal courtship. The heart of a mouse beats about 500 times per minute. This is significantly faster than the human heart. The high rate is due to the animal's small size and fast metabolism. It is a specific physiological measurement. The fingerprints of a gorilla are also unique to each individual. Like humans, gorillas have distinct ridge patterns on their fingers. This is used by researchers to identify and track individual animals. It is a specific similarity between primates. The vocal cords of a lion are square-shaped, which allows them to produce a very loud roar. This specific anatomical structure is unique to big cats. The square shape is more efficient for producing low-frequency sounds. It is the reason a lion's roar can be heard from several miles away. A group of ravens is called an unkindness. This is another specific and poetic collective noun. The name reflects the bird's association with bad omens and mystery. It is a term that is often used in literature and storytelling. The eye of a giant squid is the size of a dinner plate. This is the largest eye in the animal kingdom. The large eye is an adaptation for seeing in the dark depths of the ocean. It is a specific feature of this deep-sea creature. The smell of a skunk can be detected by a human nose for up to a mile. This is the specific range of the offensive spray. The odor is produced by sulfur compounds. It is a potent defense mechanism. The heart of a whale is the size of a small car. This is a repeated fact about the blue whale. Its massive size is necessary to pump blood through the enormous body. It is a key feature of the animal's physiology. A group of owls is called a parliament. This is a collective noun that evokes a sense of wisdom and deliberation. The name comes from the bird's serious and watchful appearance. It is one of the more dignified terms for a group of animals. A snail can sleep for up to 3 years at a time. This is an astonishing example of extended dormancy. The snail enters this state to survive periods of drought or extreme temperatures. It is an extreme survival strategy. A group of frogs is called an army. This is a collective noun that suggests a large, mobilized group. The name likely comes from the large number of frogs that can appear together. It is a specific term used for a gathering of these amphibians. The claws of a cat are retractable, while those of a dog are not. This is a specific anatomical difference between the two species. Retractable claws allow cats to keep them sharp for hunting. It is a defining feature of the cat family. The ears of an elephant are used to regulate body temperature. This is a specific function of their large, flapping ears. The blood vessels in the ears radiate heat, cooling the animal. It is a practical adaptation for living in hot climates. A group of jellyfish is called a smack. This is a specific collective noun for these gelatinous creatures. The name is descriptive of the stinging sensation they can cause. It is a more colorful term for a common marine animal. A shark's skeleton is made entirely of cartilage, not bone. This is a specific feature of the shark's anatomy. The lighter cartilage allows for greater buoyancy. It is a defining characteristic of cartilaginous fish. The eyes of a horse are the largest of any land mammal. This is a specific anatomical measurement. The large eyes provide a wide field of vision. It is an adaptation for detecting predators on the open plains. The tongue of a tiger is covered in sharp barbs. These barbs are called papillae and are used to scrape meat from bones. The tongue is rough and can even strip paint from wood. It is a specific adaptation for a carnivorous diet. A group of geese on the ground is called a gaggle. When they are in flight, they are called a skein. These are specific terms for different situations. The terminology changes depending on the behavior of the birds. The voice box of a howler monkey is the largest of any primate. This allows them to produce an incredibly loud call. The call can be heard for several miles through the dense forest. It is a specific adaptation for communication. A group of ferrets is called a business. This is a specific collective noun that is somewhat humorous. The name likely comes from their busy, active behavior. It is one of the more unusual terms for an animal group. A beaver's teeth never stop growing. This constant growth is an adaptation for gnawing on wood. The teeth are self-sharpening. It is a specific feature of these industrious rodents. Here is a collection of facts about the sky, the stars, and the space beyond our atmosphere. These are not stories of cosmic grandeur or the origins of the universe. They are the quiet, specific measurements and observations about what hangs above us. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of the celestial and the atmospheric. The Sun is approximately 93 million miles away from Earth. This distance is called an astronomical unit and is used as a standard measurement in the solar system. Light from the Sun takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach us. This means we always see the Sun as it was over 8 minutes ago. The Moon is moving away from Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters per year. This gradual separation is caused by tidal forces. The Moon's orbit is slowly expanding. In about 600 million years, it will be far enough away that total solar eclipses will no longer be possible. The temperature at the core of the Sun is about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. This immense heat is generated by nuclear fusion. Hydrogen atoms are smashed together to form helium, releasing enormous amounts of energy. This process has been occurring for about 4.6 billion years. The planet we call Mars has the largest volcano in the solar system. This volcano, Olympus Mons, is about 13.6 miles high, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest. Its base is so wide that it would cover the entire state of Arizona. The volcano is a shield volcano, formed by lava flows over millions of years. The planet Venus rotates on its axis so slowly that its day is longer than its year. A day on Venus lasts about 243 Earth days, while its orbit around the Sun takes only 225 Earth days. This slow rotation is a unique feature of the planet. The planet also rotates in the opposite direction of most other planets. The planet Jupiter has a great red spot that is a storm system larger than Earth. This storm has been observed for over 300 years. The spot is a persistent feature of the planet's atmosphere. It is a high-pressure region that causes the distinctive red coloration. The rings of Saturn are not solid but are made of countless particles of ice and rock. These particles range in size from tiny grains to large boulders. The rings are incredibly thin, only about 30 feet thick in some places. They are a spectacular feature of the planet. The planet Mercury has no atmosphere to speak of. This means the temperature on its surface can swing from extreme heat to extreme cold. During the day, it can reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, it can drop to minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit. The lack of an atmosphere allows for these dramatic temperature swings. The star nearest to our solar system is Proxima Centauri. It is about 4.24 light-years away. A light-year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, about 5.88 trillion miles. This is the closest star beyond our Sun. The International Space Station orbits Earth at a speed of about 17,500 miles per hour. This speed is necessary to counteract the pull of gravity. The station completes an orbit around Earth every 90 minutes. This means the crew experiences 16 sunrises and sunsets each day. The Earth's atmosphere is about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. The remaining 1% is made up of other gases, including argon and carbon dioxide. This specific composition is what allows life to exist. The atmosphere also protects the surface from harmful solar radiation. The northern and southern lights are caused by charged particles from the sun colliding with the Earth's magnetic field. These particles are channeled toward the poles by the magnetic field. When they collide with atmospheric gases, they emit light. This is the scientific explanation for the auroras. The Milky Way galaxy contains an estimated 100 to 400 billion stars. The exact number is difficult to determine because we are inside it. The galaxy is a barred spiral galaxy with a disk of stars that rotates. The Sun is located about halfway out from the center. The largest known star is a hypergiant called Uy Scuti. It is about 1,700 times larger than the Sun. If placed at the center of the solar system, it would extend beyond the orbit of Jupiter. Its size is an extreme example of stellar expansion. The Andromeda Galaxy is the nearest major galaxy to the Milky Way. It is about 2.5 million light-years away. The galaxy is on a collision course with our own galaxy. The collision is expected to occur in about 4 billion years. The planet Neptune has the strongest winds in the solar system. These winds can reach speeds of over 1,200 miles per hour. They are driven by the planet's rapid rotation and internal heat. The winds are a defining feature of Neptune's atmosphere. The planet Uranus rotates on its side, with an axial tilt of about 98 degrees. This extreme tilt is likely the result of a massive collision early in its history. The tilt causes the planet to have very long seasons. This orientation is unique in the solar system. The Earth is not a perfect sphere. It is an oblate spheroid, meaning it is slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. This shape is caused by the planet's rotation. The equatorial bulge is about 26 miles wider than the polar diameter. The Moon has no atmosphere, no wind, and no water on its surface. The lack of an atmosphere means there is no weather to erode the surface. The footprints left by astronauts will remain for millions of years. The Moon is a geologically dead world. The planet Jupiter has a mass that is more than twice the mass of all the other planets combined. Its immense gravity has a significant influence on the solar system. The planet is composed mostly of hydrogen and helium. It is the largest planet in the solar system. The Sun makes up about 99.86% of the total mass of the solar system. This means the planets and everything else are just a tiny fraction of the total. The Sun is the dominant gravitational force. It holds the entire system together. The Milky Way galaxy is about 100,000 light-years across. This is a specific measurement of its diameter. It takes light 100,000 years to travel from one edge to the other. The galaxy contains all the stars we can see in the night sky. The planet Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006. This is because it has not cleared its orbit of other debris. Pluto is now considered a dwarf planet, a classification for objects that do not meet all the criteria for a full planet. This decision was made by the International Astronomical Union. The Earth's ozone layer absorbs most of the Sun's ultraviolet radiation. This is a protective layer in the stratosphere. The ozone is a molecule made of 3 oxygen atoms. It is essential for life on Earth, protecting us from harmful radiation. The planet Mercury has the most craters of any planet in the solar system. This is because it has no atmosphere to burn up meteoroids. The surface is heavily scarred from billions of years of impacts. The craters are a permanent record of the solar system's history. The planet Jupiter has 95 known moons. This is a specific count that is constantly being updated. The largest moon, Ganymede, is larger than the planet Mercury. The moons of Jupiter are a diverse collection of worlds. The planet Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, despite not being the closest to the Sun. This is due to a runaway greenhouse effect. Its thick atmosphere traps heat, creating surface temperatures of about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. This makes it hotter than Mercury. The speed of light is exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. This is a fundamental constant of the universe. It is the speed at which all electromagnetic radiation travels. This speed is the limit of how fast information can travel. The planet Earth has one moon, which is unusually large relative to its size. The moon is about 1/4 the size of Earth. This ratio is much larger than for most other planets. The moon has a significant effect on Earth's tides and rotation. The planet Mars is sometimes called the red planet because of its reddish appearance. This color comes from iron oxide or rust on its surface. The planet is a rocky world with a thin atmosphere. It has ice caps at both poles and canyons that are larger than any on Earth. The star Betelgeuse is expected to explode as a supernova within the next 100,000 years. This event will be visible from Earth even during the day. Betelgeuse is a red supergiant star. Its eventual explosion is a predictable event in stellar evolution. The planet Saturn's density is so low that it would float in water. This is because it is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, the lightest elements. The planet's density is less than that of water. This is a specific and unusual fact about the planet. The Earth's magnetic field protects the planet from the solar wind, a stream of charged particles from the sun. The magnetic field extends far into space. Without it, the solar wind would strip away the atmosphere. The magnetic field is a crucial factor in making Earth habitable. Here is a collection of facts about the quiet weather patterns and the subtle forces of the Earth. These are not stories of dramatic storms or catastrophic events. They are the small, specific observations about the air, the water, and the ground beneath us. We will move through them one after another, a calm inventory of the planet's gentle mechanics. The average raindrop falls at a speed of about 7 to 18 miles per hour. The exact speed depends on the size of the drop and air resistance. Smaller drops fall more slowly, while larger drops fall faster. This is a specific measurement of a common phenomenon. The air pressure at sea level is about 14.7 pounds per square inch. This is the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on the Earth's surface. The pressure decreases as you go higher in altitude. This is a standard measurement used in meteorology. The temperature of lightning can reach about 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is hotter than the surface of the sun. The extreme heat causes the air to expand rapidly, creating the sound of thunder. The specific temperature is a key part of the physics of lightning. The Earth's rotation causes the Coriolis effect, which deflects moving objects to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This effect influences the direction of winds and ocean currents. It is a fundamental principle of fluid dynamics on a rotating planet. The effect is named after a specific French mathematician. The highest recorded wind speed on Earth was measured during a tornado in 1999. The wind speed reached 302 miles per hour. This is the fastest wind speed ever directly measured on the planet. The measurement was taken by a portable Doppler radar. The average depth of the ocean is about 12,100 feet. This is a specific measurement of the ocean's depth. The ocean covers more than 70% of the Earth's surface. Its average depth is a key statistic in oceanography. The Earth's magnetic pole is not fixed. It wanders over time due to changes in the Earth's core. The magnetic North Pole is currently moving toward Siberia. This is a continuous and measurable shift. The rainiest place on Earth is Mawzinram, India, which receives over 460 inches of rain per year. This is the highest annual rainfall recorded. The region's geography causes moisture-laden air to rise and condense. It is a specific location with a unique climate. The driest place on Earth is the Atacama Desert in Chile. Some weather stations there have never recorded any rain. The desert is located in a rain shadow caused by the Andes Mountains. It is one of the most arid places on the planet. The strongest earthquake ever recorded occurred in Chile in 1960. It had a magnitude of 9.5 on the moment magnitude scale. The earthquake caused a tsunami that affected areas across the Pacific. It is a specific historical event with a precise measurement. The Earth's inner core is solid iron and is about the size of Pluto. This is a specific measurement of the inner core. The core is surrounded by a liquid outer core. The temperature at the center of the Earth is about the same as the surface of the Sun. The ocean's tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the Moon and the Sun. The Moon has a stronger effect because it is closer. High tide and low tide occur in predictable cycles. This is a fundamental principle of oceanography. The study of earthquakes is called seismology. Seismologists use instruments called seismographs to measure ground motion. The data collected helps scientists understand the Earth's interior. It is a specific field of geophysics. The ozone layer is a layer of gas in the stratosphere that absorbs ultraviolet radiation. It is located about 15 to 20 miles above the Earth's surface. The layer protects life from harmful UV rays. It is a critical component of the Earth's atmosphere. The clouds we see are made of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. The droplets are so small that they remain suspended in the air. Clouds are classified by their shape and altitude. This is a basic fact of meteorology. The Earth's axis is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees. This tilt is responsible for the seasons. The tilt causes different parts of the Earth to receive more direct sunlight at different times of the year. The angle is a specific measurement. The highest mountain peak above sea level is Mount Everest, which is 29,032 feet high. This height is measured from sea level. The mountain is part of the Himalayan range. It is a specific measurement that makes it the highest point on Earth. The lowest point on land is the Dead Sea, which is about 1,412 feet below sea level. The shore of the Dead Sea is the lowest point on the Earth's surface. It is located between Israel and Jordan. This is a specific geographical measurement. The Earth's crust is made up of several large plates that move over time. This is the theory of plate tectonics. The plates can collide, separate, or slide past each other. This movement is responsible for earthquakes and volcanic activity. The longest mountain range in the world is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It runs down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The range is mostly underwater. It is a continuous chain of mountains that is over 10,000 miles long. The oldest known rocks on Earth have been dated to about 4 billion years old. These rocks are found in Canada. They provide evidence about the early Earth. This is a specific geological dating. The Earth's atmosphere is divided into several layers. The lowest layer is the troposphere, where weather occurs. Above that is the stratosphere, which contains the ozone layer. The layers have different characteristics and temperatures. The first successful weather forecast was made in the 1860s. It was based on telegraph reports of weather conditions. The forecast was a simple prediction of a coming storm. It marked the beginning of modern meteorology. The Earth's water cycle involves evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Water evaporates from the surface, forms clouds, and falls back as rain or snow. This is a continuous cycle that distributes water around the planet. It is a fundamental process of the Earth system. The term weather refers to the short-term conditions of the atmosphere. Climate refers to the long-term average of weather in a specific area. The two terms are often confused. They represent different scales of atmospheric measurement. The highest temperature ever recorded on Earth was 134 degrees Fahrenheit. This was recorded in Death Valley, California in 1913. This is the highest reliably recorded temperature. It is a specific weather record. The lowest temperature ever recorded on Earth was -128.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This was recorded in Antarctica in 1983. This is the coldest temperature ever recorded. It is a specific measurement from a remote location. The color of the sky is blue because of a phenomenon called Rayleigh scattering. Blue light is scattered more than other colors by the atmosphere. This is why the sky appears blue during the day. The effect is named after a specific scientist. The speed of sound in air is about 767 miles per hour. This speed varies with temperature and altitude. Sound travels faster in warmer air. It is a specific measurement of sound propagation. The average adult produces about half a liter of saliva per day, enough to fill a typical drinking glass. And on that note, this is the end of our inventory. You likely drifted off somewhere in the middle. That was the plan. If you're still awake, the last fact is this. The average adult produces about half a liter of saliva per day, enough to fill a typical drinking glass. And on that note, this is the end of our inventory. Good night.